Yeah, he's been around it for a while, so he knows exactly what he's looking for, and he knows exactly what the play is supposed to look like. And he kind of just helps to design different plays, design certain people to get the ball. So yeah, I think his experience is the biggest thing for myself and kind of everybody involved. They play really physical, they play really sound, and they play together. So normally when you have those three things, you get a good defense. And so we'll be expecting anything and everything. Last home game, so kind of our last chance for the young guys to go out there and play for these seniors and kind of show our love for them and their dedication they put into this program. So yeah, we're going to prepare our tails off and make it a special night for the seniors and for everyone involved.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome in on a Thursday. That's the quarterback ahead of Nebraska, Wisconsin. Welcome into what is referred to as the Gary Sharp Show. I would be Gary. John Schreiner is with us today.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. We get after hours in the a.m.
Yeah, that's right. I was just here at 8 o'clock last night.
Yeah? Did you stay overnight?
I thought about bringing a cot and just putting a sleeping bag. And
hey,
yeah.
We had.
I was going to sleep in Gary's office.
You'd have to show me where that office
where's
is.
his office?
I've never even had like a cubicle here. Never.
No desk?
No. Listen to the interview. My introduction to this place was a little bit rocky. They just kind of threw me in. They're like, hey, here's Jason Peter. Go ahead. Go get him, kid. Didn't introduce me to anybody. Like, didn't take me around. I knew the GM, Neil, Jason, Shane. And nobody else.
Here's your seat. There's your microphone.
Good
luck.
We start at 7.
Let me know if you need anything.
So welcome back. Welcome in. Good to see you.
All right. Yeah. Good to be here, man.
For people that already know, the very talented John Schreiner from After Hours with Jimmy. Also the voice of multiple Creighton sports.
A few, yeah.
Is that what you texted me yesterday? Is that public?
It's not. I haven't announced it publicly yet, but
would you like to do it now to kick off the show?
Sure. It's safe to say.
Give me some good news, John.
Got a tremendous opportunity yesterday. I got a call from Fox Sports 1, and I will be doing the Big East Volleyball Championships on Fox Sports 1.
Nice. Nice. I'm going to bet that Creighton is playing in it at Sokol.
Yeah, it's going to be Creighton Marquette, let's be honest.
All right. That's awesome.
I don't know, 13th straight year.
At least you know the teams then.
Very, very cool, very exciting. Super happy. So, second time I've ever been on FS1.
That is awesome. Like in front of a camera, walking like behind the talent, going to your seat.
No, I did sidelines for the Big East women's soccer championships in 2019, which was on FS1 as well. So,
all right.
But this will be the first time I get to do play-by-play on the network.
Man.
Yep.
Man, pots and pans. That's a good way to start a Thursday morning. Welcome to everybody. Jimmy is here as well. Let me just give you the rundown of my crazy schedule, which one day you wake up in Las Vegas, the next day you wake up in Cleveland.
You sound all the way back, by the way, or close to it.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
That sounds like a really bad movie is what that sounds like. I went to Vegas and woke up in Cleveland.
Hey, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, except herpes, and that thing will follow you everywhere.
Well, yeah, I mean,
not that I'm advocating that. I've been COVID. I've been COVID.
Gary Sharp here for.
No, I've been COVID and herpes free my entire life.
Okay, all right.
And that's the main takeaway from this segment.
I can
say
your
debut on TV.
Yeah, I've had my battles with COVID, as we all know.
Oh, I thought you were. I thought we were going to go somewhere we didn't want to go.
We don't want to go there.
Oh no,
this is a judgment-free
zone. Just like Cleveland, we don't want to go there.
My years was Chicago. Those were back in the days. That was your old life.
That was my old life.
That was your old life.
Mm-hmm.
But I am in for the first 2 hours, and then Jimmy and John will take you through the last two. But we have a special guest in studio. The Neil Smith will be in studio this morning. Yes, that Neil Smith, who made a huge mistake and played for the Broncos when he is a Chief for life. But his son is at Nebraska, and in his redshirt year has made some progress in the young wide receiver room that they're going to have to find the person to unlock the key to that young talent. But Neil Smith will be in coming up at 9. Sarah Baker Hansen, Steve Sipple, Brian Edwards, all part of the Thursday lineup on the Gary Sharp Show, brought to you by the rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard. Now, something I was thinking about driving in, because it is, something's going to happen on Saturday at Memorial Stadium. Somebody that is wearing red is going to win. Somebody that was 5-5 prior to kickoff is going to win. Would you like more?
Yeah, and one of those teams is going to feel much better about their coaching situation after the game than they did before.
The noise may be reduced a little bit. You're correct. The noise may be ramped up somewhere else. But did you guys know? Do you guys remember that this is a trophy game?
The $5 bits of broken chair.
No.
Yeah.
Live
Now-
animals.
now
That's
that-
what we need.
That's the faux Pellini trophy, the $5 bits of broken chair.
But not for this game. This game
That's
is
that's Minnesota.
yeah. And what you're alluding to is really probably the only trophy game that Nebraska fans recognize and know off the top of their head. And,
Yeah.
and now it's, since they didn't play them this year, they did it for volleyball. But the Freedom Trophy.
Our trophies are so stupid.
Thank you.
The
Welcome to the
Heroes
Big Ten.
Trophy, the Freedom
Well,
Trophy.
Maybe not the purpose. But do you think so?
They're just so contrived. Like there's no actual historical meaning behind them.
You look at the young people leaving Wisconsin and Nebraska, you don't think they're going for freedom?
They might be, but the Big Ten trophies are all so cool. Like, you have the Floyd of Rosedale, the pig. You have
Yeah.
Paul Bunyan's axe. You have the old oaken bucket, the brass spittoon. And what do we get?
Freedom and heroes?
Yeah, come on. Those are so lame.
So the cause is good, but I was, it's been a while. I mean, Dylan Ryler was in first grade the last time Nebraska beat Wisconsin. Just think about that. There is a trophy on the line, and will Wisconsin bring the trophy to Lincoln? Like, they haven't had to. Do they? They
Yeah.
bring it to Lincoln. They put it on the sidelines. Like, after the game, does the current Nebraska players know that you got to run over to the opposing sideline and grab a trophy? Or does Wisconsin just leave it back in Madison and then they Fed exit to Lincoln like on Monday?
They haven't had, like you said, they haven't had to worry about that. It doesn't have a seat on the bus.
But so I'm vibing with you about trophies that are kind of like forced on us. Like the participation trophy.
We should.
I decline it.
With Wisconsin, why didn't we do the beef or cheese trophy? Like, they use their cows for milk. We use our cows for beef.
I'm with you, but they wanted to have freedom.
Cool.
But did you see, though, when Nebraska won in Iowa City the last time they played there, the excitement with the trophy, which ended up on a receptionist's desk in the football office, just kind of hanging out. But you remember, like, the excitement of grabbing the trophy,
Yeah.
the Heroes Trophy in Iowa City,
Yeah.
and they basically, Garrett Nelson wanted to pass it into the stands, and then I just completely forgot. All tatted up, smoking a cigar.
I don't remember that one.
Outside linebacker war number 2. I'm going to think of it in just a second.
Oh, yes. And now.
Okay, but the trophy was like a big deal. Like, we're going, I don't know about trophy. And then the players go, not so fast. That's kind of cool.
Okay, I'll say this. The idea of the trophy is good. I like the idea of the trophy game. And having it between Nebraska and Iowa and Nebraska and Wisconsin makes perfect sense. I'm not poo-pooing the trophy. I'm just like, we could have done better, right? We could have done better with the trophy. There was a better way. Like, we could have the battle of who's got the better corn with Iowa. We need to workshop the name a little bit, but the idea is there. And then the beef and cheese trophy with Wisconsin. You don't think so? You don't like my ideas?
No. I like your idea here. This is
I
gonna,
like this food.
this is going to bug me because
I'm still proponent of live
Hold on.
animal, but
Oh, hold
Live
on.
animal.
live
okay.
animal food.
Yeah.
I mean, I like where we're going because bits of broken chair could lead to splinters, which nobody
Yes.
wants to deal with that.
But it just shows you the power of a trophy that's cool. Everybody knows that trophy.
Everybody.
Like you're thinking, oh man, they're not playing Minnesota this year. Caleb Tanner.
I was going to say our friends on the street.
Yeah, I did.
They
That
got
was
you.
going to bug me all day. But not playing Minnesota this year. Well, what's going to happen to the trophy? Well, let's do it for volleyball. I mean, those are the kind of trophies that probably resonate with this fan base. But this is a trophy game. So the excitement of the euphoria of Nebraska becoming bowl eligible on Saturday, will they know? Will it be the older guys or the younger guys, John, that sprint over to the Wisconsin sideline, knocking Bucky down to grab the Freedom Trophy? Or will there have to be somebody like a staff member for Wisconsin reminds Jay Terry, the great equipment manager for Nebraska, hey, you guys want this?
I assume they've discussed it, but I don't know. Did they bring it? Will they bring it? Is it going to be a big deal?
It was a big deal.
We call on the show?
It was a big deal 2 years ago. I remember the Wisconsin players carrying it out of the stadium. But if you did not know, now you know that the Wisconsin-Nebraska game is a trophy game.
But I said this a couple of weeks ago, Nebraska can't lose to Wisconsin. It's too sad. They can't lose to Wisconsin again.
Well, we got that settled.
How come you didn't say that earlier? You can't lose to UCLA. It'd be too sad. You can't lose to USC.
Well,
it'd be too sad.
Honestly, did you have them beating USC before the season started?
No.
I didn't either. But
did you have them beating Wisconsin before this season started?
Actually, I did.
Okay.
I think I did. I think that's the one in the last 5 that I had them winning, because I thought UCLA would be better than they actually ended up being. So that sort of flipped back and forth on that one. But just the history with Wisconsin, we can't take another loss to Wisconsin. As fans, I think our fragile psyche, I don't know how we'll handle another loss, especially if it's heartbreaking. If it's another one where it's in Memorial Stadium. And so the last time I saw a Nebraska-Wisconsin game in person was the Andy Janovich touchdown run in the fourth quarter, which is the loudest I've ever heard Memorial Stadium. And then promptly after that, Wisconsin marched down the field on a 14-play drive.
No, I just remember Andy's touchdown.
And scored and won the game. And that the mood after that was just so depressing.
I like to think Andy's run won the game.
Well, so something you're walking down a path that I think is, every game around here when you're 10 and 12 in your first 22 games becomes a referendum. Okay? A referendum on you, your program, everything in life. But if you want to hype this game or kind of going down the path you just laid out, John, with everything that is on the line, last home game, Nebraska doesn't play at home again until next fall. And between Saturday and the next home game where they turn the scoreboard on and it matters, there's going to be people tapping on your door to say, hey, you want some luxury in Memorial Stadium? We're going to need some cash. There's going to be other things that are going to go on. Changes, good, bad changes possibly between the last time you're in the stadium on Saturday compared to the next time, next September you come into the stadium.
Yeah.
You've got 0 for 8. The last time Nebraska won when they entered a game with 5 wins and then won their 6th, you have to go back to 2016.
Right.
So there's the bowl streak. There's the long streak of losing against Wisconsin. There is, you're a favorite. This is the year that Wisconsin seems like they are ripe for the picking. But remember, the weird fickle rule. It's a weird last 2 years when these two teams get together, because this is the second straight year that both teams have entered the game 5-5. This is the second straight year that Wisconsin has entered this game losers of 3 in a row. So with all of that said, and you look at Wisconsin just made an offensive coordinator change. Hunter Wohler may not play, and he's one of the best defensive players in the entire Big Ten. They have poor quarterback play. So everything says Nebraska. I don't want to be Mr. Hype Man. I don't want to be Mr. Hyperbole, but what the hell? It's Thursday. This kind of is Matt Rule's most important game at Nebraska up to this point. With everything that is on the line, because if you don't win on Saturday, what's it like going into a Black Friday game where you still have a chance to become bowl eligible? But I'm guessing the vested interest will be like, just I'll flip it on.
Cold and dark.
We were going to drive over to Iowa City.
Is this the 23rd time
Too
that
cold.
Matt Rules had his most important game at
Well,
Nebraska?
it's kind. I mean,
Until next week.
Look, yes, because everything is a referendum,
Yeah.
and every game is and the losses are triple magnified, all of that stuff. But it's home. It's the last home game. It's kind of the transition.
Yeah, I think
it's kind of the transition. I'll get to this a little bit later. It's the transition, John, of nice Nebraska to not nice Nebraska.
Yeah.
So this is the game in between that you got to win.
Yep. I think the sentiment that you're putting out there is that the feeling after this game is going to be very important. Like, if Nebraska wins, they get to 6, they make the bowl game, they get that monkey off the back. Matt Rule's the one who broke the streak.
Mm-hmm.
He got them. He made the changes necessary, made some hard decisions, kicked his buddy out of the OC chair, brought in an outside voice who may not be the easiest person to work with at times, who says the hard things, who doesn't have much of a filter. He brought something else into the program that was needed. And if all those things are true and they win, then it's like, okay, we feel good about this. He's going to do what it takes to win, right? If they lose, then what the hell are you doing? You made all these changes when Nebraska needed a win to get bowl eligible. You're messing with the sauce when it's, time to go. We got orders at the window and you're trying to make a new sauce here. Like, we can't be doing this stuff. Obviously, you didn't know what was necessary to get the program going in the right direction. Mm-hmm. If you're making changes, everything is hinging on that result on Saturday, on whether, okay, Matt Rule's he's done the right things, or Matt Rule's not been doing the right things at all.
Yeah, but is it more of a you win on Saturday? It's not necessarily, man, Matt Rule's got to go in the right spot. Isn't it more of just a sigh of relief? That thing,
it certainly is.
That thing that is the elephant in the room that has hung over Nebraska football and all of the demons that need to be exorcised, you finally got that one out of the way. And it's not, all right, Nebraska's on the right track. It's, thank God. Now I don't have to hear about it. They've established a baseline, and now we can move forward, and we're playing with house money in Iowa City.
I think, I do think there's a certain sigh of relief there, but I think there's a certain portion of the fan base that is like, they've been pushed onto the fence this season. Mm-hmm. I mean, people who were in favor and who've liked Matt Rule and who've been on that side have sort of been pushed to the middle, and they're like, okay, show me which way I'm going to fall off this fence. Like, which side am I going to come down on? I think a lot of that depends on what happens Saturday against Wisconsin.
Also, another oddity of the game on Saturday at Memorial Stadium is you will have 2 play callers that's the first time they've called plays in Memorial Stadium. Now, from the Wisconsin side, you'd be like, Phil Longo's never been to Memorial Stadium. Well, I got a new play caller. Dana Holgerson never called plays in Memorial Stadium.
No, never has.
What?
Even when he was at Tech.
What has happened to Nebraska and Wisconsin? Like, Nebraska
hasn't
held up their end of their bargain.
A lot.
Because when the divisions existed, it was like, oh, look at the Nebraska connection. You got Alvarez as the athletic director. Nebraska, Wisconsin, man, they are built from the same thing. That's going to be a great rivalry. Heck, let's make it the first Big Ten game. Okay, that's how we're going to introduce Nebraska into the Big Ten. We're going to send them to Madison. Well, they got sent home. And since then, Nebraska hasn't held up their end of the bargain. But look at like Fickell and Rule arrive, and you're like, all right, here we go. They arrive. We still have divisions. We're like, this is cooking with peanut oil. And next thing you know, again, second straight year, both teams enter this game 5-5. Second straight year, Wisconsin enters on a 3-game losing streak. Both have made a change with their play caller.
The parallels are uncanny.
There is so much noise around their programs.
Second year under a head coach who was brought in to change the culture and flip the switch for a team that had fallen by the wayside in recent years. It was a hotshot head coach who was one of the hottest things going at one point or another in college football.
And Rule and Fickell will always be connected. They will always be connected and compared. Whether right or wrong, fair or not, they're going to always be compared. That's why, what's the conversation at midfield before the game? They walk up and go, So, Luke, how you doing? So, do they just look at each other and go,
Gut reaction, who lasts longer at their current school?
the guy in Lincoln?
Yeah, I agree.
Same.
I think so. I think if this season goes the way it's going for Wisconsin, next year's not going to look great. Like Fickle might be on his way out the door after next year.
No, I think the expectations in terms of dubs was higher in Lincoln than Madison because they looked at their schedule. I mean, they've had Alabama,
Yep.
they've had Penn State, they've had Oregon. But one is 12-11, the other is 10-12.
Yeah. The difference, I mean, I don't know what their difference in remaining contract money is, but
Well, I mean, they're both in it for the long haul. But they need to both coaches need to tamp down the noise around their program. Now that comes with winning, but there's a lot of people got opinions. There's also, we're about to have a purge around here. Are you gonna do the right purge or the wrong purge when you get to 105?
yeah, it's and look, the coaches have already started. The head coaches have already started sort of paring down their staff. I mean, both have made an offensive coordinator change already, and who knows what other heads might roll in the offseason.
I mean, both places they need to win. They absolutely need to win.
I mean, Wisconsin's also had a quarterback problem. They can't figure it out at that spot. Nebraska has underperformed at the wide receiver and running back spots. Like, would it surprise you if there was a quarterback coach change at Wisconsin or a running back or wide receiver coach change at Nebraska in the offseason? Wouldn't surprise me a bit.
No, I can't speak for Wisconsin, but I can speak for Nebraska. No.
Yeah,
it would not.
It's interesting that this game falls at this time.
Because John, it was supposed to be a big game, remember?
It was supposed to be a huge game.
Like this was when the divisions were together. It was like Wisconsin, Iowa, back to back. It's going to be, Nebraska gets to play their two chief rivals. This is going to decide a division title.
And if you listen to a lot of folks, Nebraska was supposed to be going for win number 9 at this point in the season. But 8 or 9, this was going to be win 8 or 9 if they could pull it off. This was the big turnaround. This was the get over the hump. Like they win 8 games, they beat Wisconsin, and we're off and running. And here we are, both teams 5-5, just hoping that they're the one who gets the win, not having to go into the final week of the season searching for bowl eligibility.
Nebraska would have Iowa. Wisconsin would have their rival, Minnesota. All right, we're off and running. The Gary Sharp Show. John Schreiner is in this morning. Jimmy is here as well. I'll have an update coming up after 7. Neil Smith's going to be in studio at 9. Tell your friends that Neil Smith will be in here. Do you think he'll wear the remember the things he used to wear?
The little eye black or
the nose.
Oh, the Breathe Right strip with the Kansas
strip.
City Killers on it, yeah.
Do you remember when the Breathe Right strip was like taking over and people just wear it to wear it?
Yep.
And he wore it and you were like...
People were wearing it to school when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
That kind of went and...
Not to play, to go to school.
It kind of came and went pretty quick, right?
Yeah, and then the people wore a Band-Aid under their eye.
Well, and he's made a lot of money doing that. Also, Sarah Baker Hansen, Steve Sipple, and Brian Edwards. You think people get Nelly and 50 Cent confused?
No.
You don't think so?
Nah.
Do you think the Band-Aid separates them?
Come to think of it, yes. Yeah, the Band-Aid did it. Good pull, John.
Yeah. What others? Do we have any other late 90s, early 2000s rappers? How about Chingy? Do we have any thoughts on Chingy?
What about Cisco? Whatever happened to Cisco?
The thong, thong, thong.
The thong came off.
Yeah.
That's all I got. I work with what you give me.
He's got to be on the list of top 5 one-hit wonders.
I think he'd even agree.
Yeah.
I mean, that song carried me through a long period. Man, there was some spring. There was
here's something that no one's ever said before. The thong song got me through a rough period in my life.
Struggling.
I just kept reliving spring break.
Yep. I just pulled the covers tightly around my face.
Middle of the winter in Nebraska, and you
made a cup of hot tea and put on Cisco's "The Thong Song."
You can join the conversation.
So now I know how it went after the 2000 K-State game when we got home. Why did you keep running the ball? Had the game won.
Seriously, Frank,
The game was
what
over.
were we doing?
It was snowing.
We will get into something that Dana Holgerson did that I'm going to tie into Matt Rule, and then I'm going to tie it into a lot of the noise that is going on around Malachi Coleman that we will touch on. Again, here till 10. You can always join the conversation on the 42 Degree The Source hotline, 402-951-1620, or in the Equitable Bank inbox, where Doug and the entire great gang, they take banking personally. Gary at 1620thezone.com or on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed at Gary Sharp 1620.
And at John Schreiner.
Didn't you just have an 82 on the end of that?
That's my email. You don't
Oh.
need to tell people about that. Nobody needs to send me emails
Why?
because that's my personal private email.
Even
Gary.
I get emails.
I know-
Granted,
I-
it's my work email.
I don't work here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
but
right. You work for
you're-
FS1 now.
You're here. You're here enough.
Email me, John Schreiner at fs1.com.
Was a
I mean,
nice-
try to see what happens.
Hey, that was a nice 6:34 in the morning flex. Good on you.
Hell yes.
All right, off and running. We'll also talk about. Fred Hoiberg went there yesterday, and he mentioned Chasers. People lost their mind. Also, we have Thursday night football tonight. Weather could be a factor, and the Steelers fans could take over the dog pound.
Mm.
Pittsburgh is at Cleveland. All of that and much more. And
Hey, the chat has said that Chingy is apparently a tech millionaire.
I
now.
saw that.
So,
I just saw that.
didn't know that?
I stopped following him on Instagram.
Yeah.
So actually, it was MySpace or Facebook. I was following him, and then I dropped him. Like, not safe for work content he was putting out.
Like
But good on
you
him.
were legitimately following Chingy on Instagram.
Everybody
Do
knew
I-
Chingy.
Do I not look like somebody that would follow Chingy?
though.
What are you saying?
Hey,
What
I
are you-
make
what are
no
you-
claims.
What are you saying? Oh,
I make
got,
no claims.
I got game. I got game.
I know you do.
I might not have a crossover or a step back, but boy, in transition, that spot up three, woo, off the back iron, you got it, baby. Welcome to the Gary Sharp Show on a Thursday morning at 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back in. 6:40 on a Thursday morning. 1 week from Thanksgiving. Everybody prepared?
Heyo.
Would you guys pay a celebrity to come hang out with you on Thanksgiving?
No.
You would not?
No.
Well, you're a family man.
Yep.
You don't need the clicks. You don't need somebody gramming your Thanksgiving.
I make the Thanksgiving dinner, so
I remember this. You were
Yeah.
telling me last year.
Yep.
Oh,
I'm the cook.
Hey, John is serious.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Don't
are
joke.
we are a week out, and it's been churning for a while.
Yep.
You know,
Slaughtered the turkey. the other day.
somebody told me that, but there is, like, you can, maybe you don't have kids or you're single for Thanksgiving. There are, like Cameo. There is Cameo for appearances on Thanksgiving, like celebrities to come to your house and have Thanksgiving
Wow.
dinner with you. You can pay a celebrity to come to your wedding and talk about it and gram it, Facebook it, Twitter it,
I hate
take
everything
pictures with
about
everybody.
this.
Apparently, Jerry
I hate
Rice
it so
does this.
much.
Jerry Rice crashes weddings in the Bay Area, and people think he is being paid to go to these weddings and then, like, take pictures. Like Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson never got paid to crash weddings. Jerry Rice apparently does.
I have questions.
About which one?
Why do you want your wedding to be publicized? What are you to gain from that? Why are we doing this, people?
Then why did I pay like $3,000 for a photographer? Everybody take your own pictures on your phone.
Yeah. I've been to weddings where they did that. They just gave everyone a disposable camera and said, take pictures.
Yeah, that's a little bit dangerous, and I would not advocate that because went to a wedding and they did that. They put the disposable cameras on the table and some guys got trashed. And so what they did then is they took all the pictures, and then the next morning when they were opening up gifts and having like a breakfast, they put on the screen all the pictures. And yeah, there's some guys' junk I didn't need to see.
Yep.
I had gone like 15 years of knowing him without seeing the junk. And then I'm it's a Sunday morning, I'm having a mimosa and I'm seeing a guy's junk. And I'm like, wow, rumors are true.
Talk about a stiff drink, am I right?
You're bringing it this morning. What's in that Coke Zero?
I'm very tired, Jimmy. I was up late and now I'm here early in the morning. So
That's the best, John.
Okay.
yep.
That's the best, John.
Yeah. Hey, we've had a week around here, so we're with you.
So, like Fickle and Rule have a lot of noise going around the program, right? Joel Stave has given advice to Braden Locke, the quarterback of Wisconsin. Man, you got to calm down. People are like, well, what the hell's going on in Wisconsin? You just got rid of Longo. You should have never hired him. So there's a lot of noise there. There's a lot of noise at Nebraska. There is noise around Malachi Coleman. All I can tell you is the person that I talked to that would kind of know his current status, they would neither confirm nor deny. Now, I'm going to lay out a scenario here, whether it be Malachi Coleman or anybody else on Nebraska's roster. The portal opens up December 9th. You will, and I think it's appropriate to let the person announce what their intentions are, whether they're true, not, staying, going, whatever. But you'll probably, you gotta purge the roster, and you got to get down to 105. So this is going to happen. So it will trickle out and things will happen. But I think it's the player's decision to announce. I do find it interesting in Malachi's case. I think Malachi thought he would play at least in the last 4 games, thought he might go to USC. Instead of traveling to USC, Quinn Clark went to USC. I believe that Malachi's parents went to Los Angeles. Malachi was not on that trip. But there's part of the purge to 105 that I think Matt Rule wanted to be Nebraska nice when he walked in the door, because he had nice guys coming up to him and saying, Coach, glad to be here, man. I'm all GBR. This is a breath of fresh air. I only know I got 1 year, I got 2, but I'm going to give it to you. And man, I want to help you out here. And Rule kind of trying to navigate a situation where he had no prior knowledge, and he's coming from the NFL back into college, says, I'll ride with you. And so let's be Nebraska nice. Got an athletic director's like, man, we don't do that around here. We don't have roster management.
Participation.
We haven't had a coach here that, in a few eras that invented the medical red shirt, the medical retirement. But I think what has happened this week has opened the door to go from Nebraska nice to what should be reality. One, on Monday, the discussion of getting down to 105. So there's going to be some players you got to have hard discussions with that don't want to leave, but you're going to have to say, hey, can I help you find somewhere else? So you have that helps you because you're like, you know what? I could have been the bad guy, but now the NCAA is the bad guy. And then Dana Holgerson, who was truthful and said, essentially, I'm going to find guys that want to be coached hard. And if you don't want to be coached hard, get your out of here. So the purge is coming, and there's been an opening this week to go from Nebraska nice, loyalty, ride or die, to you got to get it in gear because you got to win some football games, and you got to get to 105, and you're not going to look like the bad guy. And when you become the purger, people around here go, why didn't you do it sooner? Good job, but keep it going.
Well, with roster limitations, there's no time to mess around. Like, we don't have time for a project. We don't have time to get your attitude in the right place. If you're not pulling on the rope, you're going to get kicked out the boat.
I like to say coaching hard. I think if you're on the offensive side of the ball, you're about to find out what coaching hard means.
Well, it's just straight up honesty.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And I loved what Dana Holgerson said, which you won't hear a lot of coaches say, but say, hey, sometimes position coaches fall in love with a guy that maybe they shouldn't. That, you get blinded by the light. You can't see the forest for the trees. Name your metaphor, right? But it is important now for everybody who is a fringe player to show that they are rowing in the right direction. Like, if you want to be on this team next year, like, you better start moving that way. And for a guy like Malachi Coleman, who's got all the physical gifts in the world, but was unable to find his way onto the field this year for whatever reason, those kinds of things, like, we don't have time to wait for you to catch up. The days of I'm gonna, I'll get it when I'm a junior. No, you better get it now.
But doesn't it go, and I like where you're going, because doesn't it also, when you have a limited roster, you almost need a general manager to figure out the numbers at certain position groups. One of the things that Nebraska has had to play from behind, they played some offensive linemen way too early. Like, so there were some guys in the Frost era that were on the field at offensive line
really
because of roster mismanagement that should not have been on the field.
Yeah.
They were on the field a year or two early. We've seen Nebraska's offensive line. There's some of the young bucks. They've been slow to get them going on the field, but now next year is their year to pop, and they've been in the program 2 years. They've been in the program 3 years instead of, well, talent-wise, you're not ready to play in your first year, but because we've mismanaged this position group so bad, we're going to get you on the field. So with that said, something along the lines of where you're going, I think, at 105 is you can still have the development part of it, but your evaluation from here on out is going to have to be on point, where nowadays, what do you think, John? You can have, and still survive at a place like Nebraska, you can have, 5 misses? Five early looks at a recruiting class 2.5 years in, and you go, that's a miss. How many misses are you going to be able to overcome if you have just a roster of 105?
Well,
be able to keep it moving.
And then it becomes extremely important that you don't miss on transfers. Like, that, I think, becomes even more important. You cannot, like, the guys you bring in from outside that are 2 or 3 years into their college career, you have to be so good at evaluating transfers, because you can't waste roster spots on guys who are 3 years into their career and can't contribute.
What type of transfer? A banger or a supplement?
I think any. Like, if you're going to bring transfers in, they have to be people who can contribute to your team now in spots where you need them. Because the limitations on the players that you're developing from freshmen
Mm-hmm.
are intense now. Like you can't just stockpile a bunch of guys and then roll the dice and see what comes out. They've all got to be in the process and ready to go. So the guys that you bring in to fill gaps, they need to be actual contributors. You can't waste spots on them because it's going to take away from your long-term development.
You're going to need a general manager. You're going
I think so.
You're going to need somebody that helps with evaluation. If you're confident in
Most
your
colleges,
development,
most college football teams at the highest level have one.
we are
now.
NFL light.
Yeah, they have them now. That is a position that you didn't see in college football before, but general manager is a growing position in college football.
And I'm sure they've had these discussions as they prepare for this of, okay, offensive linemen, how many scholarships of the 105 are we going to allocate to offensive line? We were talking the other day about running backs. You know, is Nebraska in the new era of a college football roster going to have only 5 running backs?
Hmm.
I mean, how many quarterbacks do you have? How many two-way guys will now be utilized in college football? Nobody on the level of Travis Hunter, but would it surprise you if a wide receiver also maybe is the 7th defensive back? You're going to have to have a
you got to swing O-line, D-line.
You're going to have a really good head coach that can manage and be organized and has a great support system to do a roster the right way. And then also do a roster the right way where we're seeing this, I think, with the portal and, you know, not everybody was at a full 85. And when you're playing a 9-game conference schedule, you have injuries.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden your depth is taking a hit. Now you're at 105. I mean, I don't think you have a taxi squad of 15 additional guys that practice, but they're not on scholarship. They're technically in the new era walk-ons.
Yeah, and this is what I was advocating for was to have that practice squad of guys who can play football and not dress on game day. I still think,
or if somebody goes down on the 105, you can insert
slide them in. Yeah.
Every time you say that thing, you're talking about a freeway.
Here is Darius. Good morning, Darius. Welcome to the show.
Hello, fellas. Thanks so much for taking my call. How y'all doing this morning?
Good.
Good. I was curious how you guys feel about the outlook for next season for the fellas after a tough loss to LAFC. They obviously have Ryan Gauld and Stuart Armstrong, the Scottish connection, coming back. Going to get some full time together, hopefully add some pieces on the back line. Do you think this team has a chance moving forward in the playoffs next season?
Darius, thanks for the call. I will
John?
Yeah.
John, as the soccer expert on the show.
What was he talking about?
Yeah, he's talking about MLS. And I guess he's talking about...
Were we just
I
trolled?
got the SEC.
Okay, were we just trolled or did we just call the wrong show?
I think we called the wrong show.
I don't know. I don't know what we're doing.
We put this on our banner that we just got confused for an MLS show.
I don't
Maybe
follow
you're
the
listening
MLS.
to Sirius XM and you're like, I just
think
remember
he's
402-951-1620.
talking about Sporting KC. I think that's what he's talking about.
Rough year at Sporting KC, by the way.
Yeah.
Did he mean to dial 810 WHB by chance?
I don't know.
He sounded very clear, though.
I'll be honest with you.
Our signals are very similar, Jimmy.
yeah.
I don't follow the MLS that closely. So
how do you not follow the MLS that closely?
Because I follow the English Premier League.
Premier League, MLS.
He likes the good stuff.
Now,
Whoa.
you held your hands a little too close together there, Gary Sharp. It's Premier League, MLS.
I have no opinion on this. I just remember John telling me.
Which league has Messi?
Touche.
Boom.
The MLS has Messi. That is a fact. Which league has Chelsea?
You should have responded. I don't know. Let's see what happens against Ohio State on Saturday.
I mean, the next thing you know is you're going to go, which league has Pulisic?
That would be the Italian league, Serie A.
Oh, now we are all engaged in this soccer talk.
I can take it there.
So do you have an answer to Darius? Bears.
No, I don't. I don't.
They got to be better.
I don't follow SKC, so I don't know.
They have nice colors.
Oh,
that'll serve them.
Sporting KC is a great
Who,
event.
the Kansas City Wiz?
They had great colors too.
Yeah, you know who has a great stadium? Kansas City Current.
Yeah,
It's a good one.
It is
It's
a
a
beautiful
really
good
stadium.
one.
stadium.
A great showcase for women's professional soccer.
Look at that.
All right, Bruin Steve just re-engaged with the show. He's like, soccer talk, let's go. More talk. Because the discussion about Matt Rule, is he ready to go nuclear? Are we ready for nuclear Matt Rule when the season ends? Has elicited some emotions.
Mm.
We'll dive into that. Also, don't forget, tomorrow is rivalry day on the radio.
Heyo.
Can we get Creighton and Nebraska to wear all blue against all red?
I know you.
Can we do that
suggested
again?
We said this.
We did it. They did it in Lincoln
Yeah.
one year. It was great.
We said this on After Hours last night. Like, let's do color on color matchups.
Why not?
in these games? Please do.
I mean, true Husker fan, J-Sker fan in the middle, true Creighton fan. Let's all get together on one thing we can agree on. All red, all blue for
Do
tomorrow.
Do it.
We will do some discussion about
Who says no?
that. I don't think anybody says no.
Yeah.
We just need somebody needs to go first.
Someone just needs to say yes.
Yeah, that's right. That's how it works. It's mornings on 1620 The Zone.
We are on to Cincinnati. All right, here we go. Harper Murray is on pace for another season of All-American honors and showed it again yesterday with a match-high 11 kills in a sweep of Iowa. As Nebraska was great on both offense and defense. It was 25-9, 25-16, 25-17. The next hosts, number 6 Wisconsin, Saturday at 7 on the Big Ten Network. Going to be quite the day in Lincoln. Nebraska ball women's Natalie Potts announced yesterday evening that she has torn her ACL and will miss the rest of the season. She was injured during Nebraska's win against North Alabama on Tuesday night. She had a great start to the season, for the 5-0 Huskers, averaging 17 points, 8 rebounds, shooting 69% from the field. She was the Big Ten Freshman of the Year last season. Last week, she tied her career high with 22 points and also had 7 rebounds when Nebraska beat South Dakota 113-70. Anyway, that sucks. Here's to a speedy recovery. Maction last night. Buffalo beats Eastern Michigan 37-20. Ohio beats Toledo 24-7. We feel robbed that we might not get any Maction games with snow this year. It's just been too warm. Chris Sale and Tarek Skubal have a lot in common. Left-handed pitching, Triple Crown winners, former Tommy John surgery patients, mammals, and now first-time Cy Young Award recipients. Sale's comeback season with the Braves ended with it. The NL Honors received 26 of the 30 first-place votes, ahead of Philadelphia's Zach Wheeler, received the other 4, and Paul Skeens. Skubal, the ace for the Tigers, won the AL award in unanimous fashion. No surprise there, with Kansas City's Seth Lugo finishing a distant second, and the Cleveland closer Emmanuel Clase finishing third. It was the only time 2 left-handers won Cy Young Award honors in the same season, with Steve Carlton and Sparky Lyle winning in 1977, and Randy Johnson and Barry Zito in 2002. In the NFL, after falling to 2-2 with a 1-point loss to the Broncos, Jets owner Woody Johnson, hey, could be worse, I guess, for my team, called an internal meeting September 30th with his top football people. In that meeting, Johnson, concerned about the direction of the team, broached the idea of benching quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Johnson's suggestion, first reported by The Athletic, triggered different reactions. One source who attended the meeting indicated that it was said in jest in a provocative nature. It's a lot of big words. Others in the meeting interpreted it differently. One source said Johnson appeared to be serious, while another said if Woody really wanted Rodgers benched, he would have been benched. What are they, 2-7, 2-8? I don't know. I can't
3-8.
count that. Yeah. 3-14. Come on. Jets and Cowboys in the Toilet Bowl coming up later this year. Finally, positive stuff. Gino Auriemma's coaching career. UConn already has been defined by unparalleled feats, 11 national titles, 23 Final Four berths, including 15 in the past 16 seasons. What happened that one year? 6 undefeated seasons, separate win streaks of 98 and 111 games. And last night, in front of a bunch of former players and a sellout crowd at Gampel Pavilion, he ascended yet another mountaintop when the Huskies routed Farley Dickinson 85-41 to make him the winningest basketball coach in NCAA history, breaking a tie he held since Friday with the legend, former Stanford coach Tara Vanderveer, who retired last year. So that's cool.
And they gave him a goat, a live goat.
That's what I want. That should be the trophy Saturday.
A live cow.
A live goat, a live cow, live anything.
Like the animal scramble at the fair.
There you go. You win. You run over to the other
There's a
sideline. You
callback.
pick up
There's
the
a
animal.
callback.
So, long time ago.
Oh, boy.
So, Mr. Rural Omaha here to my left tried to explain to me at the Sarpy County Fair
At a lot of county fairs.
the animal scramble that I had never heard of before.
Yeah.
My mind was blown, and I was disappointed that it no longer happens.
Yeah, I don't think they do it.
I don't think it's allowed anymore. They've got restrictions, John.
I don't think so.
You just can't take home random animals.
I think you can.
I'm pretty sure that those days have ended. When I got a little bit older, I made a wise decision.
You don't take home random animals anymore?
No, that was just back in the day of patrolling O Street. All right, coming up at 8 o'clock, Sarah Baker Hansen
We have
stops by.
taken this
Steve
show to
Sipple.
a place this morning. I don't know where it is.
It's going to be a good day.
That's
we're
why,
there.
hey, we're all prepared because Neil Smith will be in studio at 9. Speaking of which, his son Keelan, on the heels of what's going to happen with Nebraska's roster and decisions to go into the portal and come out of the portal, that wide receiver room in the offseason is going to be so important. I think Dana Holgerson as the offensive coordinator at Nebraska is more attractive to potential assistant coaches than Marcus Satterfield was. I think there will be a larger pool if Nebraska has openings on the offensive side that would want to work for Dana that just don't either have a connection or a want to work with Marcus Satterfield, and that will benefit Nebraska. But that wide receiver room, because if you look, I mean, Another assistant coach's son is coming to play, and Isaiah Mosey, and he's a baller. You've got a young wide receiver room that already Ja'Cory Barney is playing. Quinn Clark is a freak. I love that he made the trip to USC and he was on the travel roster. I mean, he's cock diesel. He's a guy that, Nebraska right now can't win 50-50 balls, John. Quinn Clark's going to win you some 50-50 balls. You got Carter Nelson that they have to make a decision on what his exact role is. Are we just going to leave him at wide receiver? You got Neil's son, Keelan. You got Bonner. You got Jalen Lloyd. I mean, you're going to be young in that wide receiver room. You're going to have to go out and get at least 2 guys out of the portal to kind of be potential wide receiver 1A and 1B. You've also got the Bellevue West duo, who I've heard reports that it got off to a slow start, but Isaiah and Davion have held their own. But they got a pop. That's such a crucial position in the offseason to get right, with who's in that room, what the pecking order is, and then who's directing that room.
Yeah, and those are the hard questions you have to ask, is do we have the right personnel in place to develop those guys and make them into the players we thought they could be? Because you didn't recruit those guys.
Fan for 2 years.
You didn't recruit those guys as a maybe. None of those guys came in as projects. All those guys were highly rated. They had stars by their names, and they were supposed to contribute very early. You needed them to contribute early. Yep. Those are the guys you're counting on to make it happen. Now, there's one of two reasons it's not happening. Either it's player effort or it's coaching mismanagement. And those are really the only two excuses that I will accept.
I think there's a responsibility on both sides, the player and the way they're being coached.
Absolutely.
Coming out of that room.
Yeah.
All right, here is Ryan, who held through the break. Good morning, Ryan. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Since we're kind of we're on a potpourri section with that last call, I don't know what the heck that was. I wanted to give credit to the ladies down in Lincoln for a hell of a season. And we're setting up for a Super Saturday against the Badgers.
Are you talking Nebraska women's soccer?
No, volleyball. Come on, guys.
Volleyball. Okay.
Oh, it says soccer on our screen.
I only asked soccer. Yeah, John's
No,
right.
no, not soccer.
Oh, hey,
volleyball. Yeah, those ladies had a hell of a season, and they're on the brink for back-to-back conference championships. And we all know what's going on with the football program, but come on.
Hey, volleyball state, my man.
Ryan, thank you. I think so. Last night, Nebraska rolled Iowa again over in Coralville.
Iowa volleyball's not very good,
which is amazing to me. If I was Beth Getz, the athletic director at Iowa, I would call Jalen Reyes and I would say, how much money do you want?
Yeah,
you can have as much money as you want to come and rescue Iowa volleyball, because Iowa volleyball is terrible, but they're in a really good state that you would think if you could win a couple of recruiting battles.
They're in a really good state and they're in a really good conference.
Yeah, but they haven't been good,
No.
and they've had some issues with their program. But I would say, all right, John Cook, any of those assistants, before you leave tonight, what's it going to take?
Right.
But I do think, so, Nebraska volleyball, and that was over quick. It was like, 90 minutes last night to sweep Iowa in 3. And they do have Wisconsin, and we don't like Wisconsin. And you get a double dose of Bucky in Memorial Stadium and then at the Devaney Center. And you know how big that is. In Wisconsin last night, they got stretched against Minnesota to a 5th set, and they had extra points in the 5th set. But I almost think, and it's kind of like Creighton volleyball as well. Once they make the Big East, they just roll through teams, and it's amazing that they keep on that high level because they have a stacked non-con. They have to. They get into the Big East, and there are just teams that are not up to their par, but it's a bigger story if Creighton ever gets beat than it is if they sweep even Marquette.
Sure.
Nebraska just is rolling right now. They've won 24 straight matches. They're 27-1. And I thought last night, because I was watching John Cook on TikTok, could I make a case, or could we make a case that we take Nebraska volleyball for granted?
Oh, certainly.
We just think it's any day that ends in Y that they roll out onto the floor, they're going to sweep in 3 and they'll just move on to the next victim.
I mean, Terry Pettit, John Cook is Bob Devaney, Tom Osborne. they're just going to be good, right? Like every year, pencil in conference championship or top 2 NCAA tournament deep run. You're a coach away from that not being the reality. I mean, John Cook, how much longer is he going to coach? I don't know. Nobody does. Maybe he doesn't even know. But this is the thing. It's like you got to enjoy the good times because they will not last forever.
You're a big volleyball guy. Why is Iowa so bad?
Boy, I mean, the Big Ten's tough, first of all. And I think that a lot of the best players from Iowa, like they go and play in Wisconsin. They go to play for Illinois. They go to play for Nebraska. They like the schools around Iowa are all pretty good at volleyball.
Yeah,
Minnesota, Wisconsin, Nebraska. Illinois is pretty good.
Missouri has had their moments.
Like
KU's not bad.
It just becomes a cycle of like, we're in a tough conference. We can't get the best players in our own state. So how do we win? They're in a tough spot
because they don't play Carver Hawkeye anymore. They're in that the arena that I think it's next to a mall in Coralville that has a ECHL hockey team. Like it's a really neat arena. It's ideal for Iowa volleyball, but they play off campus.
I wondered when I saw Coralville.
Again, if I said, you know what, I'm in a really good high school volleyball state, I just say, what John Cook assistant wants to cut their teeth here? We'll pay you a lot of money.
Does Danny Busboom want to get into the Big Ten? She's not leaving Louisville.
To Iowa?
No.
There's only one place in the Big Ten she'll be coming to.
Nebraska.
Just we don't know when that date is going to be.
Yeah.
All right, take a quick break. When we come back, we'll sift into some emails and some tweets about some of the stuff we've already touched on, and of course Matt Rule and Luke Fickell, which through one has coached 23 games, one has coached 22. You have to make a decision closer to what you expected these two to be. I know it's an odd question, but think about it. We will discuss when we return. There's Jimmy, there's John, I'm Gary. A little bit later in studio, Neil Smith, because Neil Smith is going to be here in Omaha doing a cool deal with a place that's not too far from me. He'll be signing autographs. Yeah, there's some development going on there at 72nd and Grover. Yeah, you guys don't ever come over to that area like, oh, man, and they just have rundown hotels. No, man, that area is banging. We got a popular Casey's.
I was over there a ton in the past 5 years.
I was at Woodhouse yesterday, which isn't next to you, but it's closer.
No, there ain't no Woodhouse on 72nd and Grover.
Oh, no, I was at 120th, but it was still, that's close.
Jimmy, can you do math? 120th to 72nd in this town with traffic?
It's closer to than what it was 10 minutes from where I was.
I don't know.
All right. Well,
that's what I got.
Neil's going to be in studio at 9.
Hey, that'll be fun.
I'm excited. Yeah. He's one of my favorite players.
Yeah. Tecmo Super Bowl, he was unstoppable.
Bo Jackson tomorrow.
It's mornings at 1620 The Zone.
1620 The Zone is proud to team with the United States Marine Corps and Toys for Tots for Stuff the Truck 2024, December 6th and 7th. Stop by 1620 The Zone studio parking lot. That's right out here. Stuff the truck with new unwrapped toys for area children. Please do not give us a pet or a cat or anything like that. All donations will support Toys for Tots. Can't make it to the event? Donations can be dropped off right here at our building during business hours, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. through Tuesday, December 10th. It's sponsored by our friends at Woodhouse Chevy and Molina Healthcare of Nebraska. More details online at 1620thezone.com/stuffthetruck.
Thanks, Jimmy. Welcome back in. John Schreiner is in today. I'm Gary. This is one of those days as you look outside or you get your weather app and you're like, what should I wear today? I noticed that on my weather app, the feels like has appeared for the first time in a while.
I busted out the coat for the first time today.
Yeah, I think my days of wearing the shorts are over. We might have to retire.
Yeah.
Sunday.
We might have to retire the shorts for a while. Now,
Now
Saturday's weather for Nebraska, Wisconsin is oddly nice.
Yeah, low 50s.
We're going to pay for it.
There's usually a hard line. There's a point in the spring where like we cross the line and it's shorts only now. We don't wear anything but shorts from this point forward. Then there's a line in the fall where it's like, okay, we've crossed the pants line and now it's pants from here on in.
Even if you get a random rogue 70-degree day.
Jimmy, the line is not negotiable.
Hmm.
It is pants from here on in.
I respect that, but I'm flexing, and when we pack for our weekend trip, I'm taking shorts for Sunday.
Okay, where are you going?
Kansas City. It'll be
Okay.
tropical there, almost 70 on Sunday.
It's a little further south, you know.
Oh, trust
70
me, I
on
know.
Sunday in Kansas
Oh,
City.
it'll be in the 60s, but to
Chiefs
me, it
are
might as
on
well
the
be
road.
70. Yeah,
They're in Carolina.
little scrimmage.
If you change your latitude, then the pants line changes.
True, it's like the leaves. They
Yeah.
push further down or up in this case.
It's a good life motto there.
Like if I go to the Bahamas in the winter, like the pants line
The
doesn't
pants
apply.
will, okay.
Yeah.
Only one of us will be in Cleveland today. It is day 50 of 55 straight days of football
Is that a
being played
metaphor?
in college football in the NFL. We have Thursday night football tonight. Pittsburgh is at Cleveland. It will be a weather game.
Yes.
There could be snow. There could be rain. There will be a lot of wind.
Here we go.
There will be the coach
That's
of
an
the year.
AFC North kind of game.
There will be the coach of the year in the NFL, Mike Tomlin, as a 3.5-point favorite.
I don't disagree.
Action weather.
He's had who would have thunk that it took Boswell kicking the football and Russell Wilson to raise the floor of the offense to ensure that Mike Tomlin will be the coach of the year. I kid a little bit about one of those, but he's got a hell of a place kicker.
Russell Wilson doesn't experience fear anymore. Did you hear this?
No, I that's new to me.
Is he on ayahuasca now?
Well, this is what he said. He said he was not afraid of the Baltimore fans. He doesn't experience fear anymore.
This goes back to your question the other day. What was it? Livy Dunn and Skeens?
So you get to double date, you and your lovely wife.
Uh-huh.
You get to double date
Yeah.
Russell and Sierra or Livy and Paul.
And now we know one's pain-free.
Or Taylor and Travis.
Oh, yes.
God. They're all so insufferable.
John Schreiner, Taylor Swift,
Whoa.
weekdays.
Whoa. You got to see Livy up close.
I did.
He's good.
I think she's different from when she was here. I think
She's older.
I think she's more likable. Back then, it was just kind of like, whoa, this is a storm of attention.
I think I'm taking Paul and Livy.
Good. You're a good man.
Libby's been on the zone. The others have not.
Yeah. We never had Travis on the zone.
Never had Travis or Taylor on the zone, but the invitation is wide open.
After hours.
We never had Russell or Sierra on the
Sierra's
zone.
music has played on the zone,
Yeah.
but Russell has not stopped by.
Jimmy Allen interviewing Taylor.
Not unless he did a media. Do you think maybe when he played this lone year at Wisconsin, he maybe stopped by the zone of Wisconsin, Nebraska week to chat?
Don't think so. I was here at the zone during that time. I was an intern on the Schick and Nick show, and I don't remember him being on.
Text Kugler and ask him, hey, did you ever have Russell Wilson?
Yeah, he could.
That'd
I don't
be
think
about
they
it.
did.
We going Pittsburgh tonight or Cleveland? Straight up.
Oh, Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
How about the spread? 3.5.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Waving the terrible towel with the weather, 9-0 Pittsburgh.
Cleveland's dead.
Cold, too.
I thought they rocked.
Cleveland. I mean, it is the home of rock and roll. The heart of rock and roll is in Cleveland.
Big Huey Lewis fan, I see. By the way, still alive. If you play the Dead or Alive game and Huey Lewis comes up,
Yeah.
he's alive.
Yeah.
Very much alive. He had some vocal issues. I believe he had surgery, shut her down for a while. But Huey Lewis and the News are making a comeback.
There you go.
They are.
He's
They
Joe
are.
Montana.
They
We're
are
set.
hitting. They are hitting state fairs and casinos as we speak.
State fair.
So when does he go to the Grand
State Fair
Island?
Act is always like an exercise in, oh yeah, that guy's still alive.
Yeah,
It's
not
always
in,
that
but
way.
not in every. See, that shows you the quality of your state fair, John. Like you look at the Iowa and Minnesota State Fair.
Right.
They have
bangers.
like current
Mhm.
big names like Jelly Roll.
Yeah. Huey Lewis has Hutchinson,
They
Kansas.
got
written all
Sabrina
over him.
Carpenter. Nebraska gets like Los Lobos.
Chris Carpenter.
The
One of the Carpenters.
Cisco is playing the Custer County Fair this year.
Would it surprise you?
I don't know how Cisco's going to play in Custer County. I don't know if that's a great idea.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut for fear. Never mind.
Why would Cisco not fit in Custer County if they have a fair?
Do you know where Custer County is?
Yeah, it's out by North Platte.
Broken Bow is where Custer County is. That's big time cowboy country. I don't know that they're listening to much Cisco.
I'm not going to stereotype cowboys and what they listen to.
Merle
I am.
Haggard cover band.
I'm absolutely going to do that.
Would they like Hairball?
Did
they do
They might
Hairball?
actually get down on that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I knew
Oak Ridge
a
Boys?
guy named Mark Dowse from Broken Bow.
yeah.
He seemed like a cowboy guy, but he also struck me as a guy that would like to dabble in some Cisco. So I'm not gonna judge the people from Custer County. And it would be on the tour, like maybe Cisco was in Denver and he's passing through, so he stops at like the Cattle Barons Ball to perform.
He stopped it. He's doing
Hey,
a special.
hey. We need to shake it up in this state.
He's doing a special appearance at Kincaid Brewing in Broken Bow.
Now we're talking. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Is that what Broken Bow has become the most famous for?
Yeah, I would say so. My brother lives out there, so that's the only reason I know anything about Broken Bow.
Oh, so your brother would probably not be a fan of
he would
Cisco
not at all.
because of his music?
Yep.
His performance in the
Jimmy, do you have
random
a follow?
2000.
Do you have a follow up to that?
I was saying his performance in the random 2000 movie Get Over It with Kirsten Dunst.
We've gone all in on the Cisco talk here on this show.
Martin Short was in that movie. He was a
Wow.
drama teacher.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm out on this conversation. I never saw that movie.
I didn't even take an edible for breakfast or anything. All I've had is coffee.
Oh man, that's just
little
wonderful.
uncomfortable there, John.
Wonderful callback.
I don't know what that says about your brother.
Thank you.
Uh,
I'll see you tomorrow.
I know what it says about my brother.
Is he a cowboy?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Is it like from Yellowstone?
Catch him not wearing boots. He's barefoot. Like that's
That's a true cowboy.
That's Bum Phillips.
Does he like
Yeah.
Yellowstone? Does he watch Yellowstone?
I'm sure that he does.
Does he like those are real cowboys like myself?
Probably, yeah.
Good. The more you know.
Yep.
Kyle writes in. He is
Hi, Kyle.
he is the Wisconsin expert.
Ooh.
He is the biggest Wisconsin fan. He said, if you go by previous recruiting rankings, Rule took over the much more talented team. I'd say Rule has been more disappointing. Fickle is turning around the talent problem in Wisconsin. I don't know what Rule has done that looks different than the last three coaches. Again, Rule and Fickle, for as long as they're at their respective schools, will be connected and compared. Whether you think that's right or wrong in the situation they inherited, I have long, a little bit of Kyle's tweet here that I'm going to lean into, is I have long contended that Rule actually inherited a better situation than Fickle.
I think the expectations at Nebraska, given where they had been versus where Wisconsin had been, might have been slightly lower. Like the bar for success was a little low. Like get Nebraska to a bowl game, you were going to ingratiate yourself pretty nicely with the fans, right? Wisconsin was not going to be satisfied with just making a bowl game. Like you were not going to do anything for the Wisconsin fans who were used to contending near the top of the Big Ten. They were regularly like winning the West, playing in the Big Ten title game, getting to that They were playing in meaningful games in November. Nebraska had not been doing that.
I say that he inherited a better situation because, like, just look at the person that is in the power chair. There was a lot of sentiment. Why you can't keep Jim Leonard? I bring in Luke Fickell. Yeah, I know Luke Fickell, but Jim Leonard. Matt Rule was like a breath of fresh air. People were like, this guy is different. Now, initially, I would have said on the day that both were announced, not very far apart, oh, Wisconsin inheriting a better situation. But then you kind of look at the walk away of talent at Wisconsin, and you're like, wow, that roster needed some massaging, which even makes it more interesting of the offensive direction that Luke Fickell decided to go in his first 2 years. And then I look at Nebraska's situation. I'm going to watch this very closely on what happens between now and when the portal opens on who leaves Nebraska, because if you pressed, and again, both of these coaches are battling a lot of noise around their program. They don't essentially do one thing extremely well, and they're not gifted enough to do enough to win. Like, we didn't play well, but we did enough, and so we were able to get out of there with a victory. I mean, this is a Wisconsin team that's going to walk into Memorial Stadium. For the first time since 2018, they are outside of the top 50 in rush defense. Remember, it's always been Wisconsin is great offensive line, defensive line.
They run the ball and they stop the run.
And that's not the case. Now, they got Walker at running back, and he went for 97 on 20 carries against Oregon and has the ability to put up triple digits. But look at, like, I don't know as much of what Fickell did immediately with the roster if he just booted guys out. But I think if I pressed Matt Rule, took him aside and said, can we go back to November of 22, January or December of 22? Do you think you were too nice when you had meetings with players and some older guys that you saw the look in their eye and they were like, Coach, I just want to win. Man, we've gone through a lot. And you, coming back into college football, said, I got you, man. I can feel Nebraska just pouring out of your body. We are in it. You know what? I owe you. I'm going to make it right for you. Because he did tell the seniors, stick with us, or the juniors and seniors before their first year under Matt Rule, stick with us. Okay, just stick with us, and I'm going to get you to where you need to be, but I'm going to need you to lead the way. Instead of like, oh man, my heart is scarlet and cream. I love what you're doing. Man, let's go run through a wall together. If he would have said, I got to run through a wall in year one, and I need to find some dudes, and I got to find guys that have battled adversity, have learned to win with adversity, and are winning now. I mean, that's a dynamic. You're beginning a program where you don't know, you don't have any prior knowledge. I don't know what discussions were between him and the athletic director about what the roster looked like or what the plan was, or, hey, man, they just don't do this at Nebraska. They don't purge a roster. They don't just kick 50 guys out, because you know what? You kick the 50th guy out, you're never going to be able to go to Bob's Big Boy in Seward and have a beer.
I think that loyalty is great as long as the people you are loyal to are producing the desired result.
Great line.
At some point.
But do you think loyalty exists in sports? Before you finish that thought?
In some cases, yes, it does. I think that it absolutely does.
Do you believe it's good and bad? They can make cases for good and bad? Okay.
You can make a case for it being both good and bad. And it all depends on what you're getting out of the person to whom you are loyal. And for Nebraska, in that situation, I've talked about this a lot. I think that there are too many artifacts from the past left over on this roster. The culture that you're trying to set, a culture of winning, a never quit, that do anything to win attitude, that's not there with this group, and especially with the older players. We've heard it so often, the here we go again mentality, the something goes wrong and we go in the tank. Like, seen it for too long. And I think that it might have been better for Nebraska to make those hard choices a year ago, 2 years ago, and say, like, we have to completely change the attitude of this team. We can't have this little infection hanging around that can be spread to the new guys we're bringing in, because that is going to hinder our ability to develop as a program. And I think you've seen it, right? There are moments in this season when Nebraska has done the old Nebraska thing, where something goes wrong and they kind of throw their hands up and, oh, we'll get them next time, I guess. I don't think that's gone.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I think as things change and you now have a roster limitation, you have a very candid assistant coach who is not afraid to touch the third rail and tell it like it is and be transparent and be honest. And maybe you are the same way, but you come across as too Nebraskan and being nice. That you've been given an opportunity here to be, I'm going nuclear. And because now it's on your tab. I wonder if the roster construction at the beginning, if he would do it differently, of not saying, oh man, GBR, this is what a great place, or saying, man, I know my history says I got to build, but I'd like to win. And then there's the other aspect about this, John. What if Nebraska would have hit November last year with 5 wins and gotten a couple of more? Would that have changed this season? I don't know if you're playing a hypothetical, if you like that game. But if instead of 5-7, let's say you're 7-5 last year, does it change this season?
Yeah, I think winning cures a lot, doesn't it? I mean, winning is the way you fix almost everything. The John Madden line, winning is the great deodorant. It removes the stink of everything else that may be going on around the program. And the easiest way to change your culture is to win games. And for whatever reason, for many reasons, for all of the reasons, it hasn't happened.
Do you do that with a player or a coach?
I mean, it definitely starts with the coach, because the coach has to set the direction and the coach decides who gets to play on the field, right? That's the first decision. Who gets to play? Who are the guys that get to trot out there and be one of the starting 22 on offense and defense? And if you make the wrong choices, you don't win. But if you make the right ones, it can start to stack upon itself. So, and then, but it's also incumbent on the guys who get chosen to go out there and perform at the level that they are expected to and that they have shown in the week leading up in practice. And so there's all the blame in the world to go around on both sides. We've heard it both ways. Like, the coaches don't call the right plays. The players don't execute the plays the right way. They don't do the things that we teach them to do. They're not being taught the right way. Like, it's everything. When you're not winning, everything has to be examined. There is no right or wrong thing to take a look at. You have to break it down all the way to the foundation to rebuild.
John writes into the Equitable Bank inbox. Rule can boot any and every player he wants to from the team with no repercussions as long as it means wins. And he is finally going to be forced to do it by the rules. Remember, Bo Pelini got a lot of pushback when the Jay Guys and the a couple of other players that were medical red shirts.
Yep.
And they processed the roster, and people lost their mind that you can't do that. Now, we're talking over a decade ago, that kind of reaction. Now, you wake up this morning and you're like, who's going off that roster? I'm looking at my roster on Huskers.com. I know I got to get to 105. Let's see. 15, you're gone. You're gone. You're gone. You're gone. You're gone. You're gone. Don't even think twice. That's why I think this week opened the door to it's okay to go nuclear, and people want you to go nuclear. Now, that might be a harsh word to use, but the purge is coming, and you're going to have some tough conversations, but you're going to have some realistic conversations to go where your roster is to the 105 that you feel like when they're coached hard, they respond, and they want to be coached hard.
I don't think you're.
You almost have don't you almost have a reboot of your of your program in year 3.
Yeah, with the way the rules are changing, certainly. But here's the other thing: is like you can say you're being nice by letting some of these guys hang around, but I don't think actually that you're doing them a service. If they're not going to play, and if they can't perform at the level to play Big Ten big boy football, you are not doing them a favor by keeping them around. Like, be honest with people. Like, you can't play at this level. If you want to play football, you need to go somewhere else.
But doesn't that do you think coaches are afraid to do that because that's an indictment on their evaluation and their development skills?
Not when you're early in your tenure, because there's enough guys who are from the previous.
Oh, so you could so you could just say, "Hey, you were a throw in that recruiting class."
We have reevaluated this roster. You were brought in by a previous coaching staff. You do not fit what we want to do. We're going to help you find a place on another roster, but you're not going to make it here. You don't have to be a jerk about it. It doesn't have to be pink slip in the locker and HR will escort you out of the building. It doesn't have to be that. You can do it in a humanitarian way and say, like, look, we want you to succeed. You're not going to succeed here. So let's find a place where you can. We will help you on your way out. We'll give you all the support you need. It's just not going to be here. And sometimes, like, that's the best thing you can do for someone is to push them in the right direction. Like, one of the things I learned in my life was that not every place is right for you. I found out real quick.
John's got deep this morning.
No, I'm pulling up a chair.
When I came out of the Marine Corps and was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, I had a bunch of different jobs. I did manual labor at a interstate batteries warehouse. I sold insurance. I worked as a sprinkler fitter, installing fire sprinklers. And I found out real quick that none of those things were right for me. I did not enjoy doing them. Regardless of whether I was good or bad at them, I was very bad at selling insurance. I'll tell you that right now. But one of the things that the regional director of the insurance company said to me was, in this business, the people who look the best on paper often don't make it. He said, he said, like, when I was doing the interview, he's like, you got all the credentials, but we find out that the people who have all the best credentials often don't last in this industry. And he said, I don't know if you're going to make it. And 2 weeks later, I was like, I'm not going to make it. Wow. I can't do this. But those are one of the best things that I learned from that was that, like, look, it might look great on paper, but it might not be right for you. And that, like, those conversations need to be had at Nebraska. Like, you looked good coming out of high school. It looked like this was going to work, but you got here and you found out that it's not for you. Like, this isn't where you belong, man. You got to find a different place.
Hey, might be talking about a wide receiver.
You just got some Fremont Fred love, and there's no joke to that either. Legitimate love.
So how did you end up at the gas station? Just kidding.
That was the holdover job while I was in college. Yeah.
That's John Schreiner, Jimmy here as well. Sarah Baker Hansen coming up at the top of the hour. Steve Sipple in less than an hour. Neil Smith in studio. Neil is going to be doing a really cool event this weekend. Is it today?
I believe so, yes.
It's today. We're going to let him tell it, but you're going to get a chance to meet Neil Smith today after he stops in studio. That's coming up at 9, and Brian Edwards going to win you some money on the 50th of 55 straight days where we have college football or the NFL. It's all to come on the Garrett Sharp Show on 1620 The Zone.
Join the VIP club and sign up for 1620 The Email. You'll be the first to know all the exciting content that's happening on The Zone, including sports news, contests, promotions, and more. Anything that you want to know about us. Sign up today, immediately. Pull over and do it. 1620thezone.com.
I was trying to figure this out. So we have the Today Show on TV in the studio. And why are they talking about the
Dude.
John Benet Ramsey case? Was it 28 years ago today?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the election's over, so now they're kind of getting into the evergreen file. And
What else we got?
yeah, what do we got going?
Hey, that I
Got
was
the parade next Thursday,
No.
so
I was captivated by that.
The whole
Oh, I
nation
remember.
was. Most of the world was captivated
ahead of
by
its
that.
time.
I mean, I'm not afraid to admit that I wanted to see where the house was
Yeah.
the next time I was in Boulder. 28 years ago. Yeah, this has been like they're doing like 15 minutes on it. And there must be is there new evidence?
There's a new documentary. It's on Max or Netflix about re-examining the case.
Hasn't there been like plenty of those?
Yeah, but there's another one.
Okay.
So
28
this is I'm sure
28
this
years
is a
ago
media
today.
tour with the producers.
Brandon writes in about what John was just saying before the break, which was fantastic. Was John giving you the "you look good on paper" speech to kids, or was he warming up for Rule?
I don't think that there's a specific target. I think it applies to everything.
I agree. Yeah. That's how I took it. It's like, yeah, that's Apple. I was applying it to stuff in my own life.
I mean, you have to figure out where you fit. Like that's one of the hardest things to do in life is to figure out where you fit. I don't know that anyone would disagree with that. That there are places that are right for you and there are places that are wrong for you. Even though it may look like it's the right place for you, when you get there, you find out that it's not. And it happens.
Are we talking about Malachi Coleman as well?
I think that, yeah, it certainly applies to him. I mean, we've all heard the rumors that are flying that this was supposed to work out. It was a match made under blue Nebraska skies, right?
Was it a forced match? Because you're a Lincoln kid and you've got a lot of attention and there's potential that it can't lose him to Colorado.
There's certainly that angle to it. I mean,
but program is not set up for you to, I don't know, I'm going to say thrive in, but ingratiate yourself. I mean, there's going to be the coaching hard part. Dana Holgerson, like, in one day said stuff that should have been happening for the 500 plus days previously. But there's going to be aspects of some guys, when you coach them hard, they don't respond, and you can't have that anymore. But kind of on the lines of what you're saying is there's, on the exit interviews, that's probably going to be a key aspect of, you know what, I bet you're going to go somewhere else and you're going to thrive.
Yep.
Ryan writes in, what John is talking about was done by Deion, and it's working at Colorado.
Yeah, but
Brings it all back.
Deion did it kind of in a way that I didn't like. That's the difference, is that he made it about himself. Deion made it about you're not one of my guys. You don't fit the Deion way. You're not Louis. And like that just felt so gross to me. You don't have to be that way about it. You can still be a decent human being and tell someone that it's not working out, that this isn't the place for you. We're setting a different standard, and it might not be the right environment for you to advance your career. That's fine, and you can do all that. But to come in the way he did with that arrogance and that ego, just like, ugh, it just gives you the yuckies.
We've had Cisco and the Yuckies mentioned in this last hour.
Fact. Cisco's been mentioned a bunch already.
This day's had everything, and it's not even 8.
Justin wonders how many guys are even left from the previous regime. Well, this is the transition year. I got guys with one more year that want to bleed out for GBR, so I'm good with them. And then you've got the next one of, hey, it's a 2-year plan. Just stick with us. It's going to be rough in year 1, but year 2, we're going to get you to where we need be. So this is the year 2 to year 3 really puts you even more on the clock of, okay, it's go time now. What you've done in 2 years needs to pop in year 3 because that is moved out. This is moved in. What have you taught the ones moving in 2 years that they did not inherit from the ones that were here for 2 years that just moved out?
Yeah, it always used to be the standard was a coach has to get 4 years because he's got to have his own full roster, right? Like, I think it's 3 now.
Well, I think in this case, it's got to be at least 4.
Well, yeah,
unless it's just unless you're.
I'm not saying you're going to fire him
5
after
and 7,
3.
5 and 7, 5 and 7, and then whatever happens next year. I mean, when you signed on the dotted line, you were guaranteed. The contract said much longer, but you were guaranteed you got to have 3 years. Okay, you got to. This is we're in it for. We're going to ride the wave for 3 years. And then we hope that wave is nice and smooth and the surfboard is not wet and we're on top of the wave and we're cruising by then. But we're not going to judge anything before we're done with 3 years.
But don't you think the timelines have condensed? It used to be like, we got to give this guy 4 years to get all of his players in.
The timeline has been condensed because college football has changed, and Curt Cignetti, with what he did, and also this is another part of the conversation about roster management and how fast things are going, is Cignetti is really muddying the waters for athletic directors on how they evaluate coaches that they're thinking, God, are we headed in the right direction? Cignetti did what he did. Now, he had the advantage of coming from a fellow college, okay, and he's a winner. That was just a really good hire. It wasn't he bought a roster, friggin' Tuberville. The guy's a winner, all right? He knows how to coach. He knows how to put together a staff. They're very organized. They may get exposed this weekend. Who knows? But you know what? Who in the country wouldn't take being 10-0 right now and everybody's talking about you and they're hanging out in your city and they're going, hey, man, you guys want to have a playoff game here. Are you sure your stadium's winterized? And the AD's going, Jesus, I don't know. We can even have bathrooms. We can have hotel rooms. We got a basketball game that day. But there's another aspect, like in the Big Ten, there's a lot of money.
Oh,
Cignetti yesterday said something that I had not thought about, John, is one of the reasons he took the job and one of the reasons he thinks they can continue to be successful is the Big Ten has a lot of money. A lot of money.
Yep.
Doesn't necessarily go straight to football, but it has a lot of money. And so Cignetti has eliminated any excuses that other programs might have. Wise athletic directors will go, if they can do it, why can't we? Some will go, we're not Indiana. We're not doing that. It's the Curt Cignetti impact is going to be fascinating when we get to the portal opening up on December 9th and how people manage their rosters to get down to 105 and what it looks like moving forward on, do they stick with their process of recruit high school, develop high school, or do they shift and go, let's get the portal. Let's go portal. Let's go portal. Let's go free agency over drafting, essentially in the NFL. Let's build our roster off the free agents instead of the draft.
Yeah, it's an interesting discussion. And look, I'll be the first to tell you, I talked a lot of smack about Indiana. Like, I have been on these airwaves running down Indiana, and I just continue to eat crow on Indiana, like saying that they weren't very good, that they hadn't played anyone, that they were going to lose this game or that, and they just keep winning. And at some point, you have to ask yourself the question of like, okay, if they were able to do it, like everybody said Nebraska had an easy schedule this year. This was the schedule that set up well for Nebraska to get 7, 8, 9. Some were saying Nebraska should win 10. They should go 10-2 with this schedule in front of them. Nobody said that about Indiana at the beginning of the season. Indiana was expected to be one of the bottom teams in the Big Ten, and all they've done is win their first 10 games.
The caution part of it is, if I'm an athletic director, I would wait to see a 2-year sample size in Bloomington.
Yeah, let's see.
Before I ever said,
I'm still very critical.
Before I ever brought my head coach in and said, hey, they can do it. Why can't you? I give them a 2-year sample size. And then you might go, that guy just is a better football coach than my guy. And I mean, it doesn't matter about the roster.
I'm still critical of his thoughts about recruiting. I don't think that it's a good idea to say stars don't matter. The data says otherwise, that it absolutely matters.
But at Indiana, John, you're not chasing a national title. You're chasing being Indiana.
I don't know. I mean,
but you are right about stars.
Yep.
If you want to win titles, you got to have stars.
yeah,
But
and
we're
I
also
guess,
talking about
it
Indiana
depends on what
football.
your goals are.
Yeah, that's the best way to describe it.
But man, you said it. Who wouldn't want to be 10-0?
It's the great. It shows
Doesn't
everybody
matter
that,
who
that
you
1 year
played.
you can have a magical 1 year. Okay, you may drift back into the pack of the middle of the Big Ten next year, but that 1 year that you give hope that this may be the year. It's the old. We used to discuss this on this show all the time. The old Iowa adage: Iowa's going to win. They're going to fall out of bed and they're going to win 8 games. But that 1 year they're going to win 11 and maybe get to 12, and they give you hope. And it's going to be once in every 4-year cycle. And you're like, yeah, I'd take that.
Yep. I mean, like, look, it's a much smaller scale, but Northwestern used to do this, where you would expect nothing out of Northwestern and they'd win the West. And the next year they'd come back with the same players, and they'd Northwestern might win the West again, and they'd finish at the bottom of the division, right? But they would give you that hope. You would say like, well, Northwestern might be decent this year. When was we do it Nebraska wins the offseason every year. We always expect them to be better than they end up being. But like, honestly, once you get to this point of the season, when were you last hopeful about Nebraska football? That things were headed in the right direction. It's been a long time.
Might be 6 years. Might be longer.
Yeah.
All right. Coming up, Sarah Baker Hansen's going to join us. Steve Sipple, Neil Smith, the former Husker, great Kansas City Chief, the father of Keelan, who is on Nebraska's roster in that very stacked young wide receiver room. He's going to be in studio at 9. He's going to be signing autographs today here in town at a opening. That place is going to do really, really well, by the way. It's location there on 72nd. We'll let Neil tell more about that. Plus, Brian Edwards will stop by. I have to get on a plane. I'm off to Cleveland.
Safe travels.
Thank you. I will join all of you tomorrow on a Football Friday Fiesta with the other half of After Hours. So John and Jimmy will take you home the rest of the way. Sarah Baker Hansen stops by next on 1620 The Zone.
Do you just kind of want to let that play for a little bit?
We just have a little nap time.
I'm never in a hurry to pod this down. But all right, as you heard, Sharpie's on his way to Cleveland,
A little halftime substitution here.
going to Thursday night football. I think I don't know. It is get this right. It is the Gary Sharp Show on 1620 The Zone, featuring no Gary Sharp, but he was here. Jimmy Chavez, John Schreiner, taking you till 10 o'clock. The Peterman is here, and he's getting all set up and ready to go. And we're going to roll in with this third hour by visiting with our friend, Sarah Baker Hansen, who is happy and to join us every other Thursday. Sarah, good morning. I was just reading your last review earlier this morning, and as usual, I'm hungry. How are you?
Well, that's my job, so I did it, clearly. I'm great this morning. How are you?
You know what? We are doing great. It is the first day. John's in today, and he says he's gone pants, so the shorts have been retired for the season. I got my coat out for the first time this season, and the most heartbreaking part of all, we turned the heater on yesterday. So.
You know, I was just looking at the thermostat in our condo, and it says 66 degrees. So I think I need to turn my heat on.
Yeah, that's pretty much that's what we did as well. So the Saddle Creek Breakfast Club has moved, and that is what you have up on your website. And going through the review and going through the pictures, my goodness, Sarah, I almost had to tell John to just take this solo and have me drive over there to eat now.
Head over and get some breakfast.
Yeah.
It is open.
Yeah,
so you'd be covered.
So you had a chance to visit there, and for people that don't know, they moved a little bit further west. That may impact the fact, hey, okay, it's a little closer. Tell us about your experience there.
Yeah, so the Saddle Creek Breakfast Club opened on Saddle Creek, sort of in the, not on Saddle Creek as we sort of think of it, but kind of back a little ways into the Dundee neighborhood. And I think, this is actually the second time I've reviewed it, because I reviewed it when it first opened. And, I think almost instantly became just exceptionally popular. Like, people loved it. They loved sort of the quaint kind of neighborhood feel of it. They loved that it was a diner sort of style, but a little bit more upscale. And I think, that is what I have always kind of loved about it. From the beginning, is that it's kind of diner style breakfast, but it's higher end. And it's also got this kind of jolt of creativity going through the menu that they maintain. So they were going to, they planned to move west. It took a lot longer than they planned. In fact, 2 years longer than they planned. And so what they ended up doing was closing their original location on Saddle Creek and reopening in the Bay in Countryside Village on the corner that was formerly occupied by a Starbucks, if folks are familiar with that location. So that's where they've reopened. And they've maintained their menu. They've maintained their quality, which I think is one of the toughest things that you can try to do when you do a move like that. And they've also improved a lot of things, which I was very happy to see.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that was on there that I feel like I have to try, but it seems like they have some new stuff now.
Yeah, they're kind of giving it, I think, they're giving it a little bit of time once they reopened in their new location. So they kind of kept the menu the same, but they're learning that, well, of course, I mean, moving from, where they were off of Saddle Creek to more of a West Omaha location, I guess. I don't know. Are we calling Countryside Village West Omaha now? I mean, it doesn't really seem like West Omaha
I would ask
anymore.
you guys that.
It's near West Side High School.
It's more like Midtown, right?
Yeah.
Like, if we were really going to think about Midtown, like we say they moved from Midtown, which is 50th, but they moved to 89th, which, I don't know. Anyway, it's west of 72nd. We'll give it that.
Yeah, it's not exactly Elkhorn. Yeah, it's a little further west, but still, it is a heavily trafficked area, and it is a place that is very popular in Omaha. It is one of the first places that I heard about for breakfast, and that's still on my list of places to go. I mean, I'm sorry, I have to admit I have not been yet. I feel like I've failed.
Well, you still have plenty of time to check it out.
That's true.
And it is interesting too. Like, I talked to Chase Thompson, the chef and co-owner, kind of about, and this wasn't in my story, but about Countryside Village, and we've talked about this on the show a little bit. But there's a lot of restaurants. David Utterback's Koji and Moots Pizza, and then of course Timber. There's Inkwell, which is a great little cocktail bar, and then there's Cedar and a couple of other bars. And so, it is kind of cool to see how Countryside Village has, number one, really reinvented itself in some ways as a food destination. And then number two, Chase told me that, one of the reasons he really wanted to be there was just because of that, because he saw all these other, food industry professionals and chefs that he respects, running super successful businesses in that neighborhood. So it's really interesting to see how something can go from, one thing completely to another over a series of years, and we can watch it happen. I know lately we've been talking about a lot of restaurants closing, but this is kind of a success story for a neighborhood in a way.
Yeah, we're talking with Sarah Baker Hansen, and that's true, John. The last time we were here, we were talking about restaurants closing, which was a very sad segment. So I'm glad we could turn things back to a little more positive in here.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things I think that people maybe don't know about or haven't tried at Saddle Creek Breakfast Club is the Mexican breakfast.
Just where I wanted to go.
Yeah. So they have a couple of, and I think the photo on my review of the Mexican breakfast called Dos Salsas de Maria has been one of the one I've gotten the most comments about. But it's kind of
it's my new screensaver.
Yeah. 2 eggs, Mexican rice, avocado, 2 salsas, queso fresco, like a big kind of pile of chorizo next to the rice, and then homemade flour tortillas. And when I talked to Chase, I kind of asked him about the Mexican breakfast, like, what was his idea for it? And he told me that one of his longtime chefs, a woman named Maria Batista, who's Mexican, she and they worked together to conceptualize these dishes on the brunch menu. And I think he gave her maybe what is one of the best compliments that I've put in a review anytime recently, which was she just makes some of the best Mexican food that I think you can make. And so it's her work on the Dos Salsas de Maria, which is of course named after her. And then the steak and eggs burrito is another dish that she in part conceptualized. And so I'm really excited to see sort of what their collaboration might also result in as they continue to update the menu. They are, like I said earlier, finding a new audience. And one of the things the new audience is kind of looking for is more like actual lunch dishes versus brunch dishes. So I think that'll be interesting. And then they've also added a Taco Tuesday where they're open in the evenings every Tuesday night.
I think we think of breakfast as pretty hard to screw up, right? Like you have the standards, and if you can execute them with any sort of proficiency, it's going to go over pretty well. Saddle Creek Breakfast Club doesn't seem to just be standing on those laurels. Like they're not just making the old staple. So how do you think they balance that between giving people like what they expect from a brunch menu versus maybe pepping it up a little bit?
Yeah, I think, there's a couple examples of that. I mean, they do kind of an upscale version of a bacon, egg, and cheese served on a croissant, which is just, it's pictured lower in the review. And I just think it's such a beautiful dish. The egg is so well executed. The bacon is kind of like a little bit sweet. So you get this buttery croissant with this perfectly executed over easy egg. It's kind of just sweet bacon. And then there's avocado and then a chipotle cream cheese, which brings like a smoky element. So, right. I mean, they could have just like made a bacon, egg, and cheese croissant, right? But then they don't just do that. They get the best croissant. They add their own elements of sweet and smoky to it. They sort of just elevate it. And I think that is kind of, to me, what is the absolute kind of key to their success. Like they do what people want, like a breakfast burrito or like a Mexican breakfast or a burger. And I really did like the burger, but then, they use a certified Piedmontese patty. So, they don't have to do that, but they do. And I feel like that really takes those brunch classics and kind of pushes them up a notch to where they're beyond kind of the basic diner food into something more gourmet.
Sarah, we'll get you out of here on this. What do you have on tap coming up this weekend before we talk to you again?
Well, I've got another review that is very fun, and I'm going to be writing it in the next couple days. And then I have, I'm still working out the details on something big that Flatwater Free Press and I are going to be announcing for 2025. But hopefully before the end of the year, we'll be able to do a reveal on the show as to what that's about.
Sarah Baker Hansen, hey, happy Thanksgiving to you and Matthew. And when we get you back on, I'm sure we'll have lots to talk about the holiday and stuff like that, because that's a conversation all its own.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Happy Thanksgiving.
That's Sarah Baker Hansen, our friend, joining us every other Thursday. John Schreiner sitting in with us this morning. Gary was here, is off to Cleveland, right?
It's
He
Cleveland.
says they're doing a game in Akron, or I don't know, it just sounds gray and cold.
The mistake on the lake, right?
Yeah,
that's what
right.
That's what you call Cleveland there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you haven't been to SCBC?
No,
That's what you said.
No,
The-
I'm
so-
a big failure.
One of the old place was really small, and the line sometimes, like, you were just not getting in. It was a
One
I-
in, one out.
yeah. I wonder
So it's like the
what
Hawk
it's
when I
like
was in college. If you know, you know.
if the new place is any better as far as
bigger.
the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually, I'm trying to get out more. Maybe that'll be my New Year's resolution, to get off my couch and go outside every now and then.
See the sunshine.
Look at our wonderful
Not
city.
in December in this
Oh.
city though.
Hey, it's beautiful today. Well, it looks beautiful. I know it's cold and windy. We still have quite the show coming up. Steve Sipple will join us here a little bit later in the hour. I want to get this guy in here because he's been waiting for 20 minutes. So, John, let's get you on, and because I don't want to keep him waiting any longer. John, you are on the Gary Sharp Show with Jimmy and John. What do you got?
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
On a nice, bright morning day drive from Salina, Kansas to Omaha. So I've got plenty of time.
Shout out Cozy Inn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do not eat those burgers inside your car.
No. I made that mistake long ago on my way to do a game, I believe, in Minneapolis, not the one in Minnesota, but the one up Highway 81. So, yeah, I was not liked in my car. Our whole thing was like one giant onion on Highway 81 and I-70.
I love this show. I listen to it every morning. I miss Nick.
Well, thank you. We Nick's
miss
our
Nick
friend.
too,
we miss
man.
Nick too. It's he is aside from how good he is at what he does, and I don't want to step on Gary's toes yesterday, steal his thunder. But I mean, he spoke for all of us. He's a great man. So that's and everyone on the stream, they will agree as well. But yeah, that's very nice of you to say. Thank you.
What I wanted to ask you guys and get your thoughts on, I think the Matt Rule staff is, I don't know how many swing and misses they're going to have on portal guys, but I go back to last year, the turnover machine at quarterback, had they not brought him in, where do you think the season would have ended? First question, where do you think the season would have ended had Casey Thompson just hung around and been the QB? Ben Scott might be one hit, but they swung and missed, I think, on these two receivers, which had you just let your young guys get in there and let them develop, I think we wouldn't be having conversations about Malachi Coleman, maybe. I don't know. And then Dowdell, I mean, I think had they not brought him in, we got plenty of running backs that could have filled that gap. I don't think he's anything special. I kind of think Nebraska's settling for the scraps, so to speak. I don't know. There's probably a few other teams that would have taken all those players, but I think they're missing on a bunch of them. So, your thoughts on last year with Casey Thompson and where we're headed?
Thank you for the call, John, and safe drive from Salina to here. He's got that strong northwest wind pushing him, so he's going to get about 70 miles to the gallon. John, take a stab at that.
Yeah, and I've been vocal about this, that I thought Nebraska would have at least been in a bowl game with Casey Thompson last year. I think that he had a significantly worse roster and worse coaching staff the year that he played for Nebraska, and they almost got to a bowl game. I think last year, with the way the defense played, if you had just had competent quarterback play with that team and that schedule, you probably could have gotten it done. But that's all speculation, right? We can't go back to the past and replay that year. So you don't actually know. It seems to me, though, that the Jeff Sims experiment set Nebraska back quite a lot. And had you been able to have a veteran quarterback like a Casey Thompson who was better. I don't think there's any question about that. Or even if you had I don't know, I guess the guts to just from the start say we're going with Heinrich Harburg. We're gonna make this a quarterback run offense. We're gonna play this way. We're not gonna lose the game on offense. Maybe you might have gotten to 6 that way as well. I feel like there were too many variables with that offense last year that went completely wrong, and quarterback was certainly one of them. That it may not have,
and it blew up in their face right away.
It did. It might have mattered, but it also might not. You know what I mean? Like Nebraska's got a 5-star quarterback this season, which is what everybody said they needed last year. Was all they needed was a quarterback. Well, you got one. Like Dylan Raiola is a 5-star. Like everybody, he was committed to Ohio State. They wanted him. Georgia wanted him, right? So you're not going to tell me that he didn't come in with a certain level of talent and ability to win football games. It hasn't worked out to that effect so far this year. But I think we have to stop saying, well, all they needed was a quarterback. I don't think that's true. I think they needed a lot more than that, and it starts between the ears. They need a different attitude on offense more than anything.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I know I'm supposed to, but the Casey Thompson argument was always interesting. If they would have had him last year, you have to think they at least get that 6th win. Different conversation. You get a bowl game, you get the more practices, all the other stuff that comes with it. Now you go to going forward with the portal, and John raises up a great point on the phone, at least he did, about, okay, why are they swinging and missing? Why are they not having the success so I see what he's getting at, and he's got a long drive from Salina here to think about it. So thanks to John for the call. We'll continue that conversation. Steve Sipple coming up later on in the hour. The great Neil Smith joining us live in studio at 9:00, and then Brian Edwards with what is going to be a banger week of college football as we near the end. When you get to that weekend right before Thanksgiving, nut cutting time. Love it. One of the best times of the year. Stick with us. More on this and a lot more, and you can hop in at 951-1620 if you have thoughts. Appreciate our guys on the stream, everyone that joins us every thing. You guys have said some really awesome things as well, personally to us yesterday and today. And you know what? It's our extended family. It's the Gary Sharp Show, 1620 The Zone. Welcome back to the Gary Sharp Show on 1620 The Zone, taking you up until 10 o'clock when Mr. Happer will be in. Jimmy Thomas, John Schreiner. Gary Sharp is left for the morning, but he'll be back tomorrow, but he won't be here. He'll be in Cleveland. So did we get all that? Do we have it? Do we have your scoring card done?
Your bingo card is did you get a blackout yet?
Yeah.
Where in the world is Gary?
Oh, and the Peterman is here. I mean, how much
Yeah.
better can this day get? It will
There-
get better
there are
later this
many-
hour.
There are many reasons I like Pete. I think number one is that he's also a Chelsea man.
Oh yeah,
I don't
we
know what this
we
is.
share that love.
This is the soccer, right?
The
yeah,
soccer
this is-
boys.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're the soccer boys.
Hey,
We got
I look forward to the podcast.
in the summer when Happer was gone and Josh Hodgman was also gone, and it was John and Peter on the Happer show. We got so much crap for going two
Oh, yeah.
straight segments
We
on
went-
soccer. We went 30 minutes hard on
we
soccer
took
talk.
up the yearly allotment of soccer
Yep.
talk on the Zone and 2 segments, and the people were not.
Let's say
Not
the
pleased.
stream was not happy.
We had a few that were in the minority that were liking it, but yeah, it was not a popular.
I mean, we got
choice.
some people that want us to ask SIP about Saddle Creek Breakfast Club, and they don't know. SIP has a wide range of things that we can go with, and we'll get to do that and much more. Oh, we'll probably ask him about the Huskers, too, coming up later on this hour. Neil Smith. Yes, that Neil Smith. Former Husker, former Kansas City Chief. Back when I kind of liked the Chiefs. There was once a time, Neil Smith's Chiefs. Oh, I love those teams. I wouldn't qualify myself as a fan because then you're just saying, well, who weren't you a fan of? Loved watching them, though. They're
Yeah.
so good. And Super Bowl champion with the Denver Broncos. He's going to be live in studio to tell us about a really cool event that he will be taking part in not too far from us coming up later today from 4 to 6. We'll tell you more about that. And then Brian Edwards will stop by before we're out of here to tell you more about how you can possibly win a little bit of money this weekend.
Ooh.
Yeah. 42
Do you
degrees.
like money?
Do you like money? Do you like not losing money? Anyway, you can join us at any time, at least if we can get you in, and we'll try. We'll have some time in the show to get you in. 951-1620. We welcome you on the JTech Construction Twitter feed, because it's still Twitter to us.
It's Twitter.
Yeah, it'll always be
Oh,
Twitter.
always called.
The Sharp and I almost did it. The
You did it.
Gary Sharp Show account is up and running, so you can tweet us. Well, let me see, because I had to do all this yesterday. We are calling it. Well, I know what we're calling the show, but I'm talking about the account. Oh, the Gary Sharp Show. So yeah, feel free to get at us here, and we'll be happy to answer or talk or any of that good stuff. Okay, before we get SIP on. Well,
There's a little something to say
I
here.
didn't get a chance to talk about this yesterday, just in general. I mean, obviously, it's been a crazy week. What the hell is Joey Galloway getting at? He lost
Yeah.
all credibility the other night. I had to ask you again, did
Yeah.
he really say that?
He
Because I
said
wasn't
it.
home when he said it. And then
He's-
Gary and I were talking about it off the air.
Yeah. He said that Indiana should consider benching their starting quarterback so that he doesn't get hurt against Ohio State because of what happened to Florida State with Jordan Travis last
Right.
year. Now, it doesn't make sense for a multitude of reasons. But
Does he know the
but-
playoff format has changed?
but most of which
And he works for the network that has said format. So they probably told him, hey, if you can tell them 12 SEC schools, that's actually what we're going for here.
the reason that it makes the least sense
So just, turn it into a preseason game.
is to be in the situation that Florida State was in last year, you'd actually have to win. And benching your starting quarterback, usually not conducive to winning.
Okay, so Indiana's playing Ohio State, right?
Yeah, yeah.
At the shoe.
But
Who was Florida State playing when Jordan Travis got hurt?
I don't even know.
Jacksonville State.
Yeah. Like,
There's a difference,
Honestly.
Joey Galloway.
honestly.
There's a big damn difference.
But here's the thing, and this is maybe some inside baseball. Like, when you have to fill time, when you have to come up with content to fill the day parts of a show, which on this radio station, you got 4 hours that you got to fill every single day.
12 hours or 14 as the sports schedule allows.
I'm guilty of it as well. Sometimes you just start talking and things fall out of your mouth that you didn't intend to say.
That's why we have a dump button.
So
Not that I've needed it.
you can
before.
come up with some really stupid ideas when you have to talk for a long time.
Listen to the food takes on this station.
You can get
Myself
yourself
included.
You can get yourself so tied in mental knots that you say things that at the time they sound really good in your head. And then it comes out and you just get blasted because it's an incredibly dumb thing to say. I think this is what happened to Joey Galloway. He's thinking about
CTE?
Indiana, undefeated, quarterback. What happened to Florida State last year? Their quarterback got hurt. They didn't play a tough schedule.
Northern Alabama when Travis got hurt was someone's on the stream. Thank you, guys.
They were in a spot where they hadn't played a tough schedule. They had an undefeated record. Their quarterback got hurt, and they got left out of the playoff. And from that point, like, you can make those comparisons with Indiana. They've played a pretty light schedule. They're unbeaten at this point. But he's tied himself in such a knot thinking about this scenario that it doesn't make any sense when you start to break it down. You don't bench your starting quarterback in the biggest game of the season. Maybe if it's the final game of the year and you're playing a nobody, Purdue, maybe then you could think about it like, we need to keep this guy healthy and we don't want a freak accident to happen. Then it makes a little more sense. Not against Ohio State. You know, you don't bench the guy.
Would he be saying this if this was two SEC teams playing Saturday night on ABC? Probably not. Because they tell you need to hype up the game. It's the big Kentucky and Texas. The whole world will be watching.
Galloway's a Big Ten guy, though.
I know that, but he works for the man now.
He does. He works
so they're
for
all
the
SEC
the
guys.
mothership.
Yeah.
But and then the thing was,
It's their state-run media.
That was my initial thought. But then he said it again on another show.
He doubled down.
And I don't know what's happening. Why no one after the first time he said it was like, Joey, don't say that again. Like, don't. This is dumb. Don't say this. Like,
Quick, talk about LeBron. Quick.
just
Says in the company handbook, LeBron, Cowboys, Stephen A. Be nice to McAfee.
But he, like,
He'll get you fired.
if you watch that clip of Greg McElroy just putting his head in his hands, like covering his eyes as Galloway starts going off of this, like, it's so indicative. Like, we've all been there. What you've worked with a partner, I'm sure, before, where you just want to put your head in your hands when they start talking, and it's like, oh no, please don't go to this place, don't do this. And that is, I know the emotions that McElroy was feeling in that
Usually
moment.
I said we'll be right back after these words from Learfield.
But it was just it's funny from an insider perspective, because I think you can get yourself to that point where you start tying your brain in a pretzel and it gets all mixed
like
up.
A warm pretzel.
And that certainly happened to Joey Galloway, man. He had a rough go on the television screen.
You know what? They all have roles to play. They sacrifice poor Joey Galloway. No, you should not bench Rourke.
What it sounded like to me was this was at your office where you're standing by the water cooler and the guy who doesn't know a ton about football comes up and starts joining the conversation. And he's like, yeah, but what if a quarterback gets hurt and then they're in a Florida State situation? And he's like,
while we're at it, why is he called a quarterback? Shouldn't he be called the ball master?
just
Does he actually have change?
It was such a stupid water cooler moment that we got to see on live television.
See,
it was
John,
so great. It was so funny.
What I think they did is they cut out pieces of her face and put it on the body.
Oh man. Like this show has gone places and you just took it to another one. I don't know what's happening.
I'm just quoting PCU.
Yeah, I know what you're doing.
We're not going to protest.
Duh. But no,
we do eat red meat. I don't care if it's murder. All right.
Indiana should not bench Curtis Rourke.
And that's the main takeaway here. How about a great football game? Stop bitching about the fact it's being played at noon. It's the East Coast. They're used to it. We all have our roles to play. If this was Seattle, you could play it at 11 o'clock at night. It's going to be a damn good football game. I feel like America, well, I don't know. That might be a conversation to have there. Will America be rooting for Cignetti? I don't know.
So John Jacobs in the stream says, Galloway saying what he said worked in that we have a radio station in Omaha talking about it. There's some merit to what Galloway said. John, there's no merit to it.
Yeah.
There isn't any merit to it. The reason we're talking about it.
We're honestly just killing time till we get Sip so he could get off the air and we could call him. Let's just be honest here, okay?
The reason
we weren't going to dive into the Huskers
about
because we can't have a long segment because that's why we have Sip. Sip is next on The Zone. Welcome back to the Gary Sharp Show on 1620 The Zone. Jimmy Chavez, FS1's John Schreiner.
Well, for one game anyway.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I could have just said Pro Football Hall of Famer John Schreiner. Hey,
You could have.
Speaking of Hall of Famers, I don't know if he's in one yet, but he sure as hell will be one day. Joining us from 93.7 The Ticket, Husker Online, my friend, John's friend, your friend, everyone's friend, Stephen M. Sipple. Sip, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you guys doing? By the way, I don't know what kind of Hall of Fame that would be.
It's got to be something.
Yeah, there might be. Yeah, there's probably something.
There's something in Lincoln that can put you in a Hall of Fame.
Is there a Hall of Fame for riding a motorcycle to Applebee's?
There should be if there's not.
Yeah, I think so. You're in.
Yeah.
Sip,
how are you guys doing?
We are doing, and obviously there is no dull moment for you. You guys got a chance to sit down and take in the full Dana Holgorsen experience the other day. From your point of view, how was that experience?
Well, I mean, it was something. It was something out of the ordinary. So there was some energy. It was a different energy, out of the ordinary. You guys know I'm pretty old. I've been covering that program for 30 years.
I'm not going to call you that on the
Anything
show.
like that, where late in the season, there's a new coordinator talking to you. So automatically it was interesting. Then you couple that with the fact that it's Dana Holgorsen. It's a big name. It's a big name coordinator, someone you guys know of. He's a household name, and I think you'd say he's a household name in college sports, college football. So that was interesting. And then what he said was, he got a lot of attention for what he said because it was things that were on, a lot of the elements were things that were on people's mind. And so it was really easy to write. I found it was very easy to write because of the things I just laid out.
I think when you talk about the things that Holgorsen said in that press conference, the thing that fascinates me the most is talking about position coaches and not seeing the forest for the trees, falling in love with certain players, and then a fresh set of eyes can come in and say, like, this isn't necessarily the guy, and we need to make a change. How did those comments land to you? Because I really enjoyed that level of candor.
Well, I enjoyed it too. It's like a lot of things in life. It just depends who you are and what kind of effect they have on you. I think for us as outsiders, you found yourself nodding your head forward and like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, if you're in that building, that's pretty uncomfortable, I think. But I think assistants around in any sport understand where he was coming from with the fresh set of eyes. I think they understand, but it's still somewhat of an indictment, right? Because he's suggesting that you're not seeing everything you should see. It suggests that you might not even be playing the right players. So, I mean, the circumstances, guys, are really unique because not everybody could get away with doing what Dana Holgorsen did. But the fact he's a two-time head coach, the fact he's 53 years old, the fact he's had, I think, 6 top 10 offenses as a coordinator, and the fact he's probably got $30 million in the bank. He can say about what he wants to say, and, with limited ramifications. So, yeah, it all sort of adds up to a very intriguing picture.
Talking with Stephen M. Sipple here. Between the three of us, we're short of that $30 million in the bank. At least I think. I probably can't speak for Sip, but you never know. Sip, we talk about what Dana's impact and impressions have been on the offense, but one thing that we're kind of wondering about, what about the other coaches on staff? Have you talked to anyone to kind of get a feel? What is that like, especially when you have this abrupt change towards the end of the season and you bring in someone who is a complete polar opposite?
No, I haven't talked to anybody on that side. I mean, Tony White was available this week, but no, I don't. Yeah, it can't be. I don't know. Those guys are so used to being uncomfortable that I'm not sure. It's just probably levels of discomfort but it can't be
That's a great point.
comfortable when you're okay. First of all, guys, and you've been around it enough to know in football when you've lost 4 straight and it's rough. The seas are rough. It's tough. It's a tough sport. It's tough for the coaches. It's tough for the players because football is inherently not that fun. I mean, the fun is doing
You heard it here
something
first.
that not a lot of people can do. The fun is winning with a bunch of guys, camaraderie, and the reward of winning. But it's all about winning. If you're not winning, think about what they're doing right now. I don't know. It's 31 degrees. The wind's blowing 30 miles an hour, and they're out of practice outside.
Definitely going to have to run the
They're
ball more today.
in that. So it's a tough time. But the beauty of the conversation is, how much this conversation changes if they beat Wisconsin.
Oh yeah,
It's incredible. I mean, and if they beat Iowa, it ramps up even more. It's kind of the rough part of college football, but also the beauty of it.
Oh, one of the other things that Dana Holgorsen mentioned was that he thought he had found a young guy who can help, and he wouldn't say who it was. We've heard a lot of
His
names.
number, not name.
We've heard a lot of names thrown out there of who people think it could be. Do you have a theory?
Yeah, I think it's Quinn Clark.
And why is that?
Oh, he's really played well. It could be Keelan Smith. I'm pretty sure it's Quinn Clark. Because they've played well in practice against the number 1 unit on defense. They've played well. They've gained confidence and playing well against the top defense. That's why I'd say I believe it's, and I think there's some other guys that fit that too. I think Makai Nelson. I've heard his name mentioned. I believe it's Quinn Clark though. No, so I'd watch number 89 in warmups. That's Quinn. He's easy to find because
It's his new name to Dana.
He's 6'5" and 205. I happen to be talking in a radio station in Omaha, and his dad was a great player at, I believe, Omaha Bryan, Ken Clark.
Yep, that's
was
right.
Great running back. So yeah, I think that's what we're talking about.
We've talked a lot about what it looked like with Holgorsen calling the plays after just a little bit of time and what it looked like against USC. I don't know that there was a lot of discernible difference. Do you think in his second game at the helm, we could start to see even more of a difference in the way the game is called?
You're right. You really would have had to be pretty astute to see discernible differences. Against USC, you probably still have to be pretty astute. Probably the conversation carries into game two of Holgorsen too. Like you saw the H-back early, which we had. I don't believe we've seen that. And then there's just some personnel things that you saw, right? Like Janiyah and Bonner. That was a change. He had 3 catches against UTEP. Hasn't done much since then until USC had 3 catches, 21 yards. And they like him. Holgorsen evidently likes Janiyah and Bonner, which makes sense. The tight end snaps changed too. Borkercher got 28 snaps, and that he hadn't been playing like that. And he hadn't been playing that many snaps. I think even Lindenmeyer got more snaps. So, yeah, you're right though. There wasn't a lot that the layman like myself would have picked out had he not been receiving texts from former coaches saying, "Watch for this." Then I could kind of figure some stuff out. Now, game 2, I wonder. I hope a little more. There's things that are more discernible. I think they're going to need it. I think Nebraska's going to need some things that are pretty evident changes to get over the hump. So if you're a Nebraska fan, I think you probably should hope that you see some things that are markedly different.
Sip, we'll get you out of here on this. So we got 2 5-5 teams. Somebody in red is going to win a 6th game and become bowl eligible. Yeah. 2 questions for you. 1, 2 desperate teams playing each other. 1, is that fair? And 2, with everything going on, what do you expect to see with Wisconsin firing Phil Longo and obviously everything that we're talking about with Dana? I could not even offer a guess of what we'll see Saturday.
Oh, I think you could to a certain extent.
It won't be 14-10
He
again,
is-
will it?
Okay, so two desperate teams. I think it's two desperate fan bases. I've always made the distinction when we talk like this in media.
Mhm.
I mean, I think the fans feel a desperation. I wonder if it's in the building. You know, I hope you always kind of hope that it is, but I don't know.
Yeah. Should there be?
Yeah, of course there should be. I hope they feel that. As far as what I think, I don't know. I hope what you don't see is Kawhi Walker, their running back, getting chunks of yards, especially early, well, late or early. What I don't want to see is Wisconsin come in with a pretty good offensive line. They're not very good offensively, but they got a pretty good offensive line. You don't want to see them come in here and push Nebraska around on its home field with so much on the line. That's what I don't want to see. If you're a Nebraska fan, you don't want to see Walker or Darian Dupree, their other running back, falling forward for 6 yards on first down. That's what I don't want to see. But I think Wisconsin's going to try to do that. You saw Braden Locke's number. You see Braden Locke's numbers as a passer. He's 55% passer, 9 picks, 9 touchdown passes. They're probably not beating you through the air. So, by the way, Locke's thrown an interception in every one of his starts. So they'll probably kind of try to bully you, and can't let that happen. Can't let it happen.
Steve Sipple, enjoy the game Saturday. And we'll talk to you. We'll figure this out. We're actually do this earlier next week with the holiday coming up. But hopefully we'll be talking about going for a 7th win. That's a much different conversation than if we're talking about 5 and 6. Yeah, much different. Let's do that one. I like that one. Have a good weekend, Sip. Enjoy the game Saturday.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Oh, you bet.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, I feel better. You feel better. I mean, maybe not about the game, but I'm just in general. And we'll talk more about that game coming up in the next hour. But coming up next, special guest in studio, the great Neil Smith. Yes, that Neil Smith, Super Bowl champion, former Husker. He's in town later this evening, to do an autograph signing. We're going to tell you about it, where you can have it done, and we'll just get a chance to listen to some stories and talk to one of the greats to ever do it. It's the Gary Sharp Show with Jimmy and John. You got all that? Good on 1620 The Zone.
Did he trash talk during the Denver game?
He did. Don't be eyeing me. He took a sabbatical and left home for a year, and now he'll come back next year, and we'll live happily ever after. So.
Do you really think he'll be back in a Kansas City Chiefs uniform?
There's no doubt in my mind.
Whoa, look at that right hand by Neil Smith. We actually have a fight going on. Kevin Gogan is in it, and Neil Smith. Gogan and Smith were the protagonists. Number 90 on the defense. Both Gogan and Neil Smith are ejected.
The Chiefs operated from a bewildering cluster of offensive formations.
Oh, man, you had me at Neil Smith and Kevin Gogan. Take me back. That was my childhood. And also the carnage that must have ensued after that. If you know, you know. Welcome back. Final hour, Gary Sharp Show, 1620 The Zone. Jimmy Chavez, John Schreiner filling in for Gary, who started it. And then, if you know, we were the Don Strock of the operation. We came into, all right, we just aged a lot of people out with that reference. I'm so sorry. I'm going back to my era. Okay, not that one, but this one. And joining us, he needs no introduction, but it's radio. So if you're not watching on Zone TV, you need an introduction. One of the all-time greats to do it. One of my favorite players, period. I'm not just saying, man. You see the Band-Aid on the nose, the home run swing, and quarterbacks running for their life. Former Husker, former Kansas City Chief, and two-time Super Bowl champion with your Denver Broncos, the great Neil Smith joining us in the studio.
Well,
Neil,
thank you, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're in town for a special reason because, guys, you can meet Neil Smith this evening, this afternoon, or however you want to, 4 to 6. You can sit, you can talk to the man, and we're going to tell you all about it. Neil, what brings you back to Omaha?
Well, I'm coming back for a reason. I'm I'm ambassador, for the story, and I just want to try to bring awareness, that we're here, we're brand new, and I want you to come out and meet and greet me. You can bring your kids. It's a liquor store, but nevertheless, it's we're here to what?
You can all go, yeah.
Yeah, everybody can come. Everybody come. It's Christmas. Get into the Christmas spirit. Come out and get your early cocktails for your Thanksgiving dinner and the game this week. And, I really believe that, this is going to be our week that we can pop the bottles maybe and get it to the play, get a game going here where we can get this behind us.
If Neil Smith's saying that, I'm not arguing with him. The store is called Macadoodles. It is at 3409 South 72nd Street here in Omaha. You can, admission is free. And you can get some photos. You can get autographs with Neil. They can purchase an 8x10 photo to be signed. Fans are welcome to bring their own memorabilia to be autographed. Got a lot of Chiefs fans here. Got a lot of Husker fans. Got a lot of Bronco fans. Look at that. 3 different fan bases minimum that would like to come meet Neil Smith. That's going to be a fun time because that's 3 different conversations that he can have, and he will enjoy every one of them. And then it gets better. Attendees have a chance to win a signed Neil Smith Husker jersey with an extra raffle ticket for each purchase of Macadoodles George Remus barrel pick. Winner does not need to be present to win, so there you go. And you can enjoy complimentary tastings the night of the event, adding to the excitement and the atmosphere of Macadoodles. Now, you live now in the Kansas City metro, and so this is a business that has been down there, correct?
Absolutely. I've been in the area in Kansas City ever since I retired. And Kansas City is what it is. Great football right now, and with the Chiefs, and the rivalry game is still in with the Broncos. But when you step out, I have a son here. I have a son that goes to school right down in Lincoln, and this is actually his first year, so he's up and coming receiver, Keelan, and get a chance to see him while I'm here and do a lot of other things. So I'm pretty excited. And Omaha has always been a part of me and my growth. When I was in college, we used to always come up, I had some players that was from here, Keith Jones, Lee Jones, and a lot of guys was from this area that, they're still friends today. They were teammates back then, but then we all stay in contact with each other. And some of those guys, and most of them, are going to be coming out tonight. So I saw Tommy Frazier, had Tommy Frazier with dinner with him last night. So it's just good when you go to different places, you see some friends and some old friends from college, man. Those people you never forget.
So give us the report. What has Keelan said about how the season's gone and how his first year on campus has been? How is he liking Lincoln?
Well, I think he's loving Lincoln. It was his decision. He wanted to come here, and he got with Coach Rule, and Coach Rule talked his language, and that's where it starts at. Can you trust and believe in the coach? And I know it's a rough time right now. It's a little struggle. He's still young, and the team is fairly young. Just got to, offensive wise, we just got to try to not keep the quarterback in such bad situations, long situations, and Nebraska, get your running game going, pound the football, control the game, less mistakes, and I think that they can get over this little slump they're in right now.
So I wanted to ask you specifically about, because Gary Sharp, the regular host of the show.
Yeah, Gary, I'm holding your hot seat down, brother.
Yeah, he's a big Kansas City Chiefs fan.
Sure.
He asked us to talk to you about why did you go to Denver, and the question is like, that's such a big rivalry, right? When you switch between Kansas City and Denver, it's like when you switch between Dallas and Washington, or when you switch between
Green Bay,
Philadelphia
Chicago.
and New York, right? The big rivalry cities. What was that like for you moving from one side of the rivalry to the other?
And y'all were both winners at the time.
Oh,
so
absolutely. Well, if you look at the West, Denver really wasn't it wasn't really our rivalry game. I mean, the Raiders is everybody's rivalry game. It's no question. So how Denver played a part in there, because Denver was so good because of the great John Elway and the Denver Broncos. So we knew that they were the better team, and it's a team that we have to beat in the West to win it, to win the division. So now the time has changed, with the Mahomes and his run in the West and clinching all of those titles. I think that someone once said, like, fall in love with the play. Don't fall in love with the player. Fall in love with your team. And once you fall in love with your team, the players always move. So, it was the first year free agency. They had no idea that I was going to go there, but nevertheless, I ended up there. I think it was the right move at the right time for me. I still had to work. I was still married, I had kids, I had support. And, it's a business. A lot of people put their hearts into it. Like it was just me. And it was a business decision between the Chiefs, me, and the movement, the whole movement. So that's why you see all these free agency going to other teams now, and everybody understand it. So, there was a lot of people panic back in the days when I moved in and say, well, he quit. No, I didn't. I never quit. I just moved. So, but I always lived in the Kansas City area. So Kansas City is home for me. And, of course, I love Chief football and the Broncos too. So I enjoy it all. So it all correlates with each other.
And that's the funny thing too. 97, this is when this all went down, and so much going on. The Chiefs had just had that great year in 95, and the Broncos had the best record in 96, and then fell to Jacksonville in the second round. So you were one of the missing pieces, along with the other great players they brought in, that starts that run 97, 98 of winning 2 Super Bowls. However, it strangely, and maybe it's revisionist history thinking about back then, but I still feel to this day you're as much beloved in Kansas City as in Denver. That's hard to do.
Oh, it is. I mean,
you were really good.
I have it on both worlds, man. I mean, when I leave from here, the love from here, from the Midwest, and I go, I go to Denver or whatever. It's the same feeling. They don't forget. They understand the body of work I've put down. With the Chiefs, it led me to those Super Bowls. I mean, we was actually trying to win them. I mean, we was very close at sometimes.
Really good teams.
Yeah, really good teams, good defensive teams. And, of course, I didn't have that luxury of an offense, that I had when I went to Denver. But, the Denver Broncos and John Elway and them, went before me, and they couldn't win it without me. So I let them know when I first came in there, I'm here for business. I'm here to win it all. So whoever want to get on board, this is what we got to do. So it started there, and it was a great rotation that we had. I mean, we had a lot of depth. It was just a perfect team to go to.
Yeah, I said such a great defense. That could apply to either one of those teams. They both were just loaded with dudes.
I think that's a great segue to talk about where Nebraska is right now. Like you saying you went to Denver and you let everyone know that it was time to get to work and we're going to go win a championship. Nebraska's kind of in a situation right now where a lot of the things we see on the field look like they are mental. It's between the ears where the problems are happening. Does it take someone like that? Can it be a player or a coach to come in and say, like, no, this stuff doesn't fly anymore? I mean, can it be internal to the team, or does it come from external?
Absolutely. I think it should be within the team. I really believe that, the seniors that's there, and this is their last road and their last outing. You know what? Kick the coaches out of the meeting room. Kick them out. Have the one-on-one with the younger players and up-and-coming players and say, hey, man, look, we have something that we started in the beginning. Now we hit a slump. And it's adversity. You hit adversity, you have to fight through it. And I tell you, if someone does that and they bring it in and have an understanding and say the things that is necessary, it's the little things for them, because it's, they have the small problems with, getting the sticks, playing behind the sticks and, offside penalties and, getting personal fouls and stuff. It's, that stuff, if you can clean it up and just play a clean football game, mistake free, you have a better chance of winning, especially at home, and everybody wants you to win. So I just think it's an attitude. I think some of the seniors need to step up, and have that meeting, shut the doors and put the coaches out and say, okay, this is it, man. This is how we're going to do it. We got to go play hard and win. I think they will do it this week.
Talking with former Husker and Super Bowl champion, the great Neil Smith, joining us live in studio. He's going to be doing an autograph signing event this afternoon at Macadoodles, which is a beer, fine wine, spirits, 3409 South 72nd Street, right here in Omaha, from 4 to 6 p.m. You're definitely going to want to go check that out for all the reasons. Plus, you never know who you might see. He already has teased some of that. You, as one of the people in your career, you got to play at Memorial Stadium. You got to play at Arrowhead. You got to play at Mile High. Not many people can say that. What is that experience like? How are they all similar but yet different? Well, equally awesome, all of them.
Yeah, it is awesome. I mean, played in front of 78,000 people.
All great fans.
Weekend, and it was, it was like, wow, man, you come from high school, you see this, it's like these people really love you. They shut the whole town down, for you. And so it starts setting in. And, the first year I went to Kansas City, I was in a culture shock because it wasn't a very good team. And I looked around and you could throw a brick and you couldn't hit nobody, because the first 2 years it was struggle. It was a struggle, man. And it was a culture shock then. But you know what? Carl Peterson and, Schottenheimer came in and it just started to turn that program around. And from there, it just started to escalate, So the ground part that I played, when I played it, we started to win. People started getting excited. They started to, tailgating. And now one of the biggest tailgating, teams out there, and
people think it was always like that.
No, it was never like that. We started to tense and everybody now, kind of copy off it a little bit, and they can't control it now. I mean, when you're winning and you're winning championships like they are now in Kansas City, that comes with it. A lot of people come with it. You're going to have fans forever. And of course they know who I am. I swung the bat a few times. And, I put my body at work down there. They knew who I was. And, I just happened to hear that you guys went back and brought me back to one of the days where, when I was in the Pro Bowl and I get ejected out of the Pro Bowl, it wasn't a very good feeling, But nevertheless, when somebody trying to cheap shot you, in your career in a Pro Bowl game, then I had to exit stage left. And it wasn't nice, but I didn't get paid for that weekend, but I enjoyed the beach, though.
Yeah. We played that at the beginning when he got ejected going up against Kevin Gogan. What a battle that must have been on the field, but then with all the other stuff going on with that.
What? Kevin Gogan always had a personal problem with me. It goes way back. The guy's 6'7", 3+, 400 pounds, got bad feet, and, he never couldn't play with me, and I would always be one to talk to him. It started in Dallas when he was a tackle, and then he went inside, played guard. So you got two guys on, that's he was one of those missing pieces that Dallas needed. In the inside, was a big guy, big body, but he never could come outside on that end and get on that island with me. That's what I always wanted him to do. So I would always jabber at him. Yeah, you got two guys inside. Get out of here. Ask the coach to put you on this island where I can bring you to school and back again. So he never liked to do that. I'm like, he's just a big teddy bear is what it is. And, I ain't got nothing against Kevin Gogan, but he was always one that had a problem with me. So I'm laughing inside while I'm saying this because it's the truth. And I don't know how you feel, but, if he walks in here today, he probably couldn't get in that door, but I ain't scared of his ass. You know what I'm saying?
I love it.
I wish we had a heads up. We could have made a couple calls.
So let's go there then. So how much of the talking to the other guy on the field was just you being a confident person, and how much was it like actually trying to get in their head and affect their play?
Oh man, 99%. When you study, and that's what made me a great player. I studied, a lot of film. I studied a lot of plays. I looked and I was prepared, and I didn't just know who you was or who I was going against. I know my mother's name, grandmother's name, dad's name, and if you come there, I just say, hey, you know what, Tom wouldn't like that. You just try to cut block me like that. Tom would not like your Uncle Tom, So I get a conversation to get him off his game, So it was always talking before a snap, and and then if they don't shut up, you keep on talking, and I'm gonna keep pouncing on your quarterback. The more you talk, the more I keep going.
Who gave it back to you the best?
Oh, no doubt. When I was a rookie, Anthony Munoz was probably the best player that I ever went against, and it was the worst game I've ever had in my life, in my career, of even taking snaps. God understood. The man just with me up and down the field like a rag dog. You know, it was my first time playing right end, because I'm a dominant left-handed, but I like to play. You know, I was moving around in the beginning. So when we got Derek Thomas, I told him he stays over there and I stays over here. So I was very comfortable not playing the blind side. You know, being the run stopper I was, but then the pass rushing ability was there too.
The baseball bat, the swing, the celebration, how'd that come about?
Well, a story. Just, you know, I was looking for something, and one night I saw Johnny Carson, dual punch line, and you know, they went brrrr, and he did the baseball swing, and I stood up in my bed like, man, that's it. I got to do that. So the very first one was really a golf swing, and it just happened to fall into a baseball swing because of George Brady just hit his 3,000 hit, and then I was, you know, of course, I had a 4 sack day that day, and then also one of the announcers was like, "Hey, you know what? Is that contributed to George?" I said, "Yeah, tell George I'm gonna go out and get 3,000 sacks," jokingly, you know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna break his record. But I'm like, I end up with 100 and something, but I'm way away from George's record. But it was just something that fell into, and then I brought it up from the golf swing up to the baseball swing, and you know, just giving the fans what they want. You know, that's what it's about. It's about entertaining, making plays, and you can feel them. You know they there. So when you do something good, you know, you got to get that feedback, and they always been there.
That's so funny. So in an alternate reality, it could have been a golf swing. Neil Smith,
Very
the
first
golf
one.
swing sack
Oh,
celebration.
yeah. Now that's all I do is play golf. I was just envisioning myself early, and I put it in. The first one was a golf swing, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I know the Chiefs do a lot with their alumni.
Sure.
They're one of the best at taking care of their former players. What's your involvement with the Chiefs alumni, and how often do you get out there to the games?
Man, we have a super ambassador group there in Kansas City. I mean, we got, you know, guys that's been there from Chief first Super Bowl that's still of course we lost a lot of the guys like Len Dawson and Otis Taylor this year in passing. But yet we have, still got a crew of guys. You know, Jan Stenerud still there. You know, Bobby Bell and all those guys. You know, that's been that put it out there. You know, in the beginning, and I come along with them, and so we do a lot of community awareness with that group, and we raise money to give back to charities around the city. And myself personally, I've taken over Derek Thomas Threat and Long Foundation, where, you know, Derek was a guy that had a vision and a dream. He was, he was a Man of the Year. He won a Man of the Year awards. Him and also Will Shields did. And I tell you what, man, we did a great job. You know, just bringing that awareness back. This year, we're gonna feed close to 2,000 families again.
Awesome.
For our Turkey Drive coming up next Tuesday. So it's always something. It's always busy. I might get one day out and probably go hunt with my buddies here, hopefully, Randolph and Derek. So we'll see how the week goes. And I have, grandbaby to have a birthday party. You know, all these things have to be in place. It's just a busy life, man. You just, you pick and choose your battles.
You, from people our age, John and I are in our 40s, so we are people that grew up with that era of Chiefs football. Do you have fans today that, when you guys do things, that come up to you and say, "We love what they're doing now, but be honest, we kind of wish that this was happening for you guys because you guys are so good." Yeah. It's just in another reality, you could have seen you guys win all those kind of Super Bowls because they had the dudes to do it.
Well, if we had Patrick Mahomes, what a blessing we would have had, right? If we would have, could have, should have.
Makes it easier.
But that makes it a lot easier, man. But here's what I can tell you, in that, we had great number one defensive teams for a long period of time. We had some great coaches that was on those teams that we had coming up, but we never had that luxury of an offensive team like they have now. The game has changed so much tremendously, where everybody, I would hate to be a defender, man, because I used to take personal scores, scoring very, very hard because I didn't like nobody to score against us. So it was just an attitude that we had. But now everybody loves touchdowns. They like touchdowns dances, and you got offensive linemen doing dances. And I mean, that to me, it's just a new era of football, and and the fans love it. I never get into the football where you picking players. I just can't do it for some reason. I just like to watch it and be done with it.
As far as former Huskers and with the program and the connection, obviously your son playing there, but some of your teammates, you guys still keep in touch periodically during the season. It's like, wins and losses.
Absolutely. We talk about it and what we think we need it. And it's been some rough years, man, of talking, like where are we at as a program? How can we get back to that, to that winning status? And, to talk to these guys. I've talked to Lawrence Peter a lot, and I periodically, Keith Jones, I call him, Steve Taylor, and those guys, and talking with, yesterday, those guys get it. They get the feel to where we're at, and we're very close. We're very close, and with the young quarterback, you just have to, like I said, you have to put him in great situations and move him around a little bit more. Don't let him be that pocket quarterback and make him use his legs, move the pocket, and they can win football games.
You have such great insights and obviously all the experience to go with it. Did you ever get into coaching or think about it?
I did. I coached it for a while. I started way back, with my sons and up and coming, and then I got out of it. I did 2-3 years with the Broncos, being a D-line coach, pass rush specialist, and I just I just wanted to choose a different pathway. I mean, it's a lot of time. It's time consuming, and I was just ready for it at the moment. But man, do I really like to get back into it? Now I'm almost at the age of where, I can understand the new generation, how to talk to them, can't be in the face. So yeah, it'd be nice to, to fall back into it. But it's something I really think about all the time. But it's a very good question.
Macadoodles, 3409 South 72nd Street. So 4 to 6. Come see you. Get
Come on out,
autographs,
man. Come
pictures.
see me. I'm sure you got a lot of stuff that you had back in the days that you didn't get signed. Was it a baseball bat or a Band-Aid, or some of those old Hustler Illustrated pictures? Some of that stuff I love. I love seeing, up and coming when I go to places and different stuff. I was like, man, this is really old. And people keep them in great shape.
All right. So since we're talking about a liquor store, what's the Neil Smith cocktail?
Oh man, I'm a vodka guy.
Okay.
I really am. I'm not a very, very hard, but can I do whiskey? Absolutely. When I get with my whiskey buddies here, me and Randolph, we did whiskey last night. So it's this who you are, But this store, I'm telling you, once you see this Macadoodle store, it is a huge place, but it got every single thing that you want, all the top of the line, for your holiday gifts, all of that stuff, man. Come on out and check it out.
That is awesome. The great Neil Smith joining us. You can meet him 4 to 6 later today, 3409 South 72nd Street here in Omaha. It's called Macadoodles. Go see him. I guarantee you, after you spend some time doing that today, you'll be all over YouTube tonight and you'll be watching it all. Huskers highlights, Chiefs highlights, Broncos highlights, Neil Smith highlights. Neil, honor.
Appreciate you guys.
Great to have you in.
Great to have you guys.
Thanks,
having
man.
Me. Thank you.
Neil Smith, enough said. More Gary Sharp Show continues on The Zone.
Get back, Gary.
That last segment was one giant metaphoric
Dirty
Gibbs pill,
heads.
because it just did it for all of us. That was fantastic. Thanks to Neil Smith. It's up on the radio replay. You can go and hear all your favorites and relive this entire show, because we've been all over the place. Trust me, we have, and it's been good. All right, before we get going with the rest of the show here, it's the bowl game blowout. $15K giveaway on 1620 The Zone. You can enter to win big. There's no Big Ten joke in there. It's just you can win big this holiday season with $15,000. Yeah, get entered to win now at 1620thezone.com. And finally, comedian Sebastian Maniscalco is coming to Omaha Thursday, December 12th of this year. Sometimes specify with some of these things. At the Chai, get entered to win tickets to the show at 1620thezone.com. Basically, just go to the website, sign up for everything just to your heart's content. Welcome back to the Gary Sharp Show as we take you up to the award-winning Connor Apper Show, which follows us, Jimmy Chavez, John Schreiner. Gary was here first couple hours. We had some very interesting conversations. There's no sarcasm to that. Really, John had a point that I'm not kidding. I'm going to have to go back and listen to and clip for my own personal deal. If you know, you know. But we just had Neil Smith in here, and it was every bit as cool as I thought it would be.
That is like, it was so awesome that it's almost deranging. Like, to be in the same room as a guy who you watched on TV and were just like in awe of when you're a kid. It's like,
we're about to just go get Connor and Josh. Hey, you guys want to start your show early?
Yeah.
We're
I
good.
need a nap.
Yeah, now we're just going to kneel on the ball. Well, we do got Brian Edwards coming up at 9:45, and he has some interesting stuff to talk about, obviously, about the weekend that will be in college and professional football.
I got a game for us to play, though, Jimmy.
I like games.
Yeah, we're going to do this game that I came up with it this morning because I was thinking about what we should talk about. And I'm calling it NFL's Dead or Alive, where the teams that are just outside of the playoff picture right now.
Oh, you meant teams.
No, not that. Teams right now that are just outside the playoff picture.
Cowboys are very much dead.
They're not in this. They're not in this game.
They're not even good enough to be in this game.
Right. They are already buried. That's the point there. But do we think that they can get themselves back into the playoff picture? Are they alive for the playoffs, or are you ready to throw dirt on them at this point? Mm-hmm. I think this is going to be a fun little exercise.
This is a fun little exercise on this 21st day of November. Yeah. So we're getting down to that time of the year in the NFL.
All right. We begin in the AFC.
And I have no idea what you're saying.
You don't know.
Because
I came up with this all on my own. Peter, you can play along too if you'd like to.
Let's do it.
Miami Dolphins. They're 4-6. They're currently 2 games out of the wild card, 4.5 games out in their division. The teams left on their schedule. They have the Jets twice.
Oh, that's always
the Patriots, the Browns. Then it gets tougher. 49ers, Packers, Texans.
They're 4-6.
Dead or alive, Miami Dolphins.
Well, they got 4 wins right there.
And those are all the last 3 of those winning record teams.
Dead. They're dead.
You think they're dead?
Yeah.
If you drop
you can win
one
those
of those
4.
If you drop any of the games before those last 3, then I don't like their odds at all.
But even if they're not going to be, well, okay, maybe go back to the 49ers because they have some issues. Sorry, Jimmy. Texans and Brown, or no, not Texans. Who was the other
Packers,
team?
49ers.
Packers, I think they're going to start playing well down the stretch. The Texans got to figure it out. Do they host them or do they have to go there? Not that Houston's the most menacing place to play, but sometimes late in the year you get some of those teams down in South Florida, and Houston doesn't apply here because they have a similar climate, but it does play a factor.
So they actually end the season with the Jets. So that their second game is with the Jets as the last one, and they have to go to the Texans. They get the 49ers at home.
Yeah, they're dead. I'm overthinking this. They're dead. And they're at Lambeau, right? I'm pretty certain of that.
Yeah, they're at Lambeau in 2 weeks.
They play a night game there.
Yes, that's the Sunday night game.
They're so dead.
I'm giving them no chance.
Yeah,
in
no
that
chance.
game.
Really?
Although they'll say Kansas City, we were there last year, it's a little colder. But
now, I tend to think Miami's still alive just because the records in the AFC aren't going to be that good.
By the way, the commenters also agree. The Dolphins, they're dead aquatic
They think
mammals.
they're dead.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the Broncos right now are the 7 spot in the AFC, and they're 6-5. Do you trust the Broncos to keep up that pace? I mean, Bo Nix is getting a lot better. I think the Dolphins still have just a sliver of life
6-5. They should be 7-4 if it wasn't for the Chiefs and the Illuminati. So I think they still have a chance. I feel weird saying that, but they are quietly putting together a nice season, playing better. And I think they have their dude at quarterback.
All right, here's the one
The second coming of Brian Greasy.
Here's the one that might draw some interesting discussion out. The Cincinnati Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
They're 4-7.
I'm listening.
They are 2.5 games out of the wild card, 4.5 games behind the Steelers in that division. And they still have to play the Steelers twice. The other games left on the schedule, Cowboys, Titans, Browns, Broncos.
They have to get at least one of the Steelers.
Yeah, that's what I'm
games.
saying.
But here's the thing. They're 4-7, right?
Yep.
They really needed to not lose the other night. I think they've dug themselves too much of a hole.
Yeah. But
Now,
listen to
they're
their
the
next
team
4.
nobody wants to play because if they ever figure it out, they could win all of them.
Yep. They have the Steelers next at home. Then they go to the Cowboys, to the Titans, and then they get the Browns at home.
If they
can beat
lose
the Steelers at home,
this week,
they could
it's
go
on.
on a 4-game run and be 8-7.
It really is. It's this week or nothing. If you drop this week, that's it.
Yeah.
4-8 now.
You lose
Not-
Sunday,
not
the
coming
season's
back.
over, and Zach Taylor might be coming to work at the Zone then.
I hate to put it all
Mornings
on,
with Sharp and Zach.
But really, this game with the Steelers is the important one.
and I really hate to put it all on one opponent, but I think they need to sweep the Steelers. The Steelers are going. I think
They're
going
gonna
to
win that division.
Going to win that division.
The great Josh the Pirate says, Dead Cincy D looks like a Sunbelt D. Mad Piper NE. I want John Schreiner on the show every day. Lots of love here. Thanks, guys. Fongway wants you spin me round like a record coming as bump music. I think we have that. Look at
So I think, are we in agreement then? Cincinnati's still alive?
For
Just
one more
barely?
week.
For one more week?
They
I
really
will
needed
not count out the Bengals yet because that offense is too good.
They
but-
really
You know what?
needed to win Sunday.
I've been slow playing it. Cincinnati's dead.
All
I don't
right.
think they beat the Steelers at all. And I don't think they even beat the Broncos when they play them. I
That's
think
true.
that-
You did
So,
say dead or
here's-
alive, not wait till
Here's
Sunday.
what I'm
They're
curious
dead.
about. In that scenario, does Zach make it to the end of the year?
Yeah, that
do they just
it's a
let him-
good question because that roster is supremely talented. Joe Burrow's putting up historic numbers for as many games as they've lost.
The
Like,
Bengals are not known really for in-season firings.
think
I,
they're
mean, it's
done.
happened before.
They don't spend
rarely.
money,
They don't
so-
spend money. So look at Marvin Lewis was on a 27 strikes and you're out deal as coach there.
Yeah.
But to answer the first question, the Peterman said, yeah, if they miss the playoffs, he's very much gone because you wasted one. Joe Burrow is going to start getting very pissy.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
You already see that
You can,
Sunday night.
you can kind of see it.
So you have a window. People will say maybe it's shut. Maybe their next coach is the defensive coordinator, though their defense hasn't looked good this year. He was a hot commodity a couple years ago, especially after the Super Bowl run. He was all the talk after they beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. Remember that day well? We drank so much champagne at our place. Oh, it looked like that sound that we play at the beginning of the show with the Rangers celebrating in their locker room. What a great day that was, but I digress. But to go back to the purpose of the game, you asked dead or alive.
Dead or alive.
Not if they win Sunday, since he's dead.
Dead.
They died Sunday.
Yep. Indianapolis is the other AFC team that's still in the hunt here. 5-6, a game out of the wild card. Can't pick a quarterback. They're 2 games out in that bad division.
That's your team, right, Peterman?
Mhm.
You get to answer this
Unfortunately,
first.
yes.
Lions, Patriots, Broncos, Titans, Giants, Jags. There's only one team on that schedule left that really gives you any fear, the Lions. And that's who's next. Are the Indianapolis Colts with Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco dead or alive?
I did a lot of schedule evaluation. As soon as they drop it, back in like April or May.
You
Whatever.
and Joey in the green room.
Yeah, that's our Super Bowl. We were talking about, and I was looking things over, and it was this middle season stretch, this 5-game stretch that they're currently in, which ends next week with Detroit. I said that's going to be
Nobody wants to play that.
That's going to be the defining part of the year, and they have completely and utterly botched and failed the most critical stretch of the season. Management, top down, play. I'm not saying the management's been good this year. The front office has been a mess, and the decision making's abysmal.
Not since Bill Polian.
But the players need to hold up their end of the bargain too, and they have not done that whatsoever. I'd give them no chance against the Lions, and they're dead. 5-7, that's it.
They're dead. The only way they come back to life is if they pull the plug on both those quarterbacks, both those clowns, and go with Jason Bean at quarterback. You do
and
that,
I told
and
you
it's
how
on.
mad I was that he got cut.
I speak for everybody in my family, wife and dog. The Colts need to start Jason Bean.
There's no way he would have been worse than Joe Flacco.
Otherwise, John, the Colts
It's
are dead.
interesting because the Colts are the closest to the Broncos for the wild card spot right
They're as
now.
dead as the Baltimore Colts.
But I give the Bengals a better chance of making the playoffs than I do the Colts.
And I'm not-
And I've already told you that the Bengals are dead.
I'm not going to disagree with that.
Joe
Yeah.
Burrow makes a difference. Hey, before we go to break here and we get Brian Edwards coming up, I want to get a couple interviews. Yes, we had that already. A couple emails because I have to. John, my friend, have his song playing tomorrow before the end of the show. Have they burglarized Neil's house yet, or are they smart enough to know better than to F with him? And we can vouch after sitting in here with Neil Smith. I'd be like, you know what? Whatever you want. I would not make that man angry. Dude's a legend. And the second question, a little more serious here, and we don't have enough time to really dive into this, but this might be something that we can all get to tomorrow. Wait, you're not here tomorrow.
I'm
It's
not here
Monday.
tomorrow.
But either way, we're going to get to it. Jimmy Allen will be in with Gary on the StreamYard and me tomorrow. Anyway, John's question, you can discuss in the stream. Nebraska hasn't just swung and missed in the portal. They swung and missed on the 5th and 6th tier players that they let come back along with their losing mentality. So you guys can discuss. That's a much longer conversation than we give it credit for, but that's why we have a show tomorrow as well. When we come back, we have Brian Edwards, VegasInsider.com, to come in and see if he can help you make some money as we wind things down on a Thursday that's been all over the place, but it's been a lot of fun. The Gary Sharp Show, Jimmy and John, 1620 The Zone. We all do. We all love money. Yes, that's why John and I work in radio. Obviously, naturally. Welcome back, final segment. Gary Sharp Show, 1620 The Zone. Connor Happer Show is going to follow in a little bit right now. We joined by our Vegas insider, our friend, your friend, Brian Edwards, joining us. B, good morning. How are you doing on this fine Thursday?
Doing great. How you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet.
We just got to talk to Neil Smith, so everybody in the studio is a little bit riding a high.
Yeah.
He was in studio with us.
Nice.
Yeah. Also nice this week. Indiana, Ohio State. The Hoosiers plus 14? How do you see this one going?
So I like Indiana here. Now, there are 94 teams out there, but you can buy the half point from 13.5 to 14. We usually see some line movement, around lunchtime on Thursday. So, if you want to wait for a clean 14, I'm not against doing that. It might get there. I don't think any of us will disagree that Ohio State has better overall talent and they have a lot more big game experience. But in my handicapping, I put a lot of stock into quarterback play and head coaching. And I think we have the advantages in both of those departments. I think Curtis Rourke is better than Will Howard. Rourke has completed 71.8% of his passes for 2,410 yards, 21-4 TDI-INT ratio. And that's despite missing the second half of the Nebraska game and the entire Washington game. And Cignetti, what he's doing is incredible. They've been playing football since 1887. They've never won 10 games. They're 10-0. They've only won 9 previously in 1945 and 1967. So what he's doing is, better than anyone has been able to do in, well over a century. And the spot favors Indiana. Despite being on the road, they've had 2 weeks to prepare. Ohio State hasn't. Is it a big step up in competition for Indiana? Obviously it is. But, outside of a 32-31 loss at Oregon and a 20-13 home win over Penn State, it's a step up in competition for the Buckeyes, too. They didn't win either one of those games by double digits. Give me Indiana plus 14 buying the half point for minus 120 juice.
All right, your next pick here, we've got two of the more surprising teams, maybe in the entire nation. We just talked about Indiana, so it's not them. But Arizona State and BYU. Arizona State's a 3-point favorite in this one. Who do you like here?
I like the Sun Devils. They're 8-2, both straight up and against the spread. They've won 3 in a row and 5 of 6, both straight up in ATS. And they're 5-0, both straight up in ATS at home this year. And Cam Scatterbo returned after a 1-game absence from an injury last week. Had 25 workmanlike carries. He's now at 1,074 rushing yards for the season, 11 touchdowns, 5.4 yards per carry average. And the redshirt freshman quarterback, Sam Levitt, 17-4 TDI-INT ratio. He goes into the Little Apple last week. K-State was undefeated at home this year and had won 11 of its 12 previous home games. He throws 3 touchdown passes in the first 20 minutes of the game and puts them to a 21-0 lead. They led 24-0 early third. K-State didn't score till 2:51 left in the third. I just like ASU and how they're playing right now. I made them 4.5. They're -3. Give me the Sun Devils.
The Missouri Tigers at Mississippi State, -7. Mizzou and Mississippi State. B, how do you see this going?
Yeah, it's 7.5, but I bought the half point to 7, so I'd recommend doing that. So Mississippi State has been a single-digit underdog 3 times this year, 0-3, both straight up in ATS. Their 7 losses in SEC play have all been by double-digit margins. They also lost at home to Toledo by a 41-17 score. Mizzou, in bounce-back mode, played good last week. Brady Cook back in the lineup, listed probable on the first injury report last night. And, they gave their team the lead with 1:02 left. But South Carolina mounted a last-minute touchdown drive to get the win. But I like how Mizzou played. And as long as they show up, they should be good to win by double digits.
We got the Fighting Mark Stoops of Kentucky against Texas this weekend. This is another one where you like buying a half point here. Kentucky, try to get them at +21. Why do you like the Wildcats on this line?
So good news on the first injury report for Kentucky yesterday. Their leading tackler, Jamon Dumas Johnson, who's been out the last 2 games. He's not on the injury report. Their longtime starting edge rusher, J.J. Weaver, who's also missed back-to-back games, he's listed probable. They got Maxwell Hairston back, their best cover corner. They got him back last week. He had missed 5 in a row with a shoulder injury. He was second team All-SEC last year when he had 5 picks. Kentucky, double-digit underdog 3 times this year. 3-0 against the spread, 1 outright win. They covered the closing line by 47 combined points. They lost by 1 at home to Georgia as a 22-point dog. They won outright at Ole Miss. And even without those 3 aforementioned defensive players, are probably their 3 best players, or 3 of their 4 best players on defense. Despite not having those guys, they still easily covered at Tennessee before the open date and before playing Murray State last week. So they're healthier than they were at Tennessee, and they had the lead in the second half of that game. And Texas mired in a 1-3 against the spread slump, the only spread cover against Florida with its third-string quarterback, and vintage look-ahead spot with a rivalry game, A&M on deck with SEC and CFP implications. They haven't played the Aggies since 2011. So give me Kentucky. Let's buy the half point at 21.
And I've been to one of those UT A&M games. This is a big game in name only. The SEC was hoping this would be a little bit bigger, and it may be one day. Alabama, Oklahoma. You like something in the first half there?
Yeah, I'm not against minus 13.5 or 14 for the game, but I'd rather go minus 7 in the first half. You know, Jalen Milroe in September looked like the best player in the country. He got an injury to his rib, and in October, not so much. They kind of struggled in October. Well, after the open date and the LSU game where he had 185 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns, Milroe looks like he's back to 100% healthy. And that's all I need with all the wide receiver injuries and just issues offensively for Oklahoma. Let's go Alabama minus 7 in the first half. But again, not against it for the game either.
We're buying half points this week. That's what we're doing. We're buying a half point with the Steelers to get them to minus 3 at the Browns. The Steelers have looked good. The Russell Wilson experiment working out so far. Does it continue this weekend?
I think so. Look, buy it to 3 as long as the price is minus 130 or cheaper. You know, if your book's making you pay a minus 140, don't do that. Like, lay the 3.5 instead, or maybe take minus 1.5 or 2 in the first half. But yeah, I think Pittsburgh's the play, and they're on a 5-game winning streak, both straight up and against the spread. Cleveland 2-8 straight up, 3-7 ATS. Just playing out the string. They're 1-4 both straight up and against the spread in 5 home games. They're off 35-14 loss to New Orleans, 27-10 home loss to Chargers 2 weeks ago. Let's go with the Steelers minus 3 or 3.5.
All right, and the last time I talked to you, we were talking about my team, the Commanders. I'm paying attention to my NFL team in November. This is an unusual territory for me, and you like the Commanders minus 10 this weekend.
Yeah, some books are 10.5 now, maybe by the half point to 10, but I think you can bet Washington against the Cowgirls any way you want. Minus 6-ish in the first half, minus 10,
that's who they're
10.5,
playing.
whatever for the game, and or team total over 27.5. Dallas has lost 5 in a row, both straight up in ATS. With Dak out for the season, they've only scored 16 combined points in 2 games, being beaten by a combined score of 68-16. I think Washington gets right here after a couple tough losses.
Finally, the Chiefs, after playing in Buffalo last week, playing in Carolina against the Panthers, which is the exact opposite of everything. Panthers plus 11 against the Chiefs. What do you like there, B?
Yeah, the Chiefs have only won 1 game by more than 11 points this year. They beat New Orleans at home 26-13. Surprisingly, this is their first double-digit favorite spot of the year. And when they've been favored by 7 or more this year, it's only happened 3 times. They're 0-3 against the spread. You know, Carolina's not very good, but they have won back-to-back games to get a little confidence. They're in the favorable spot as they've had 2 weeks off, and the Chiefs are in a back-to-back road situation with, you know, a good bit of travel at Buffalo, back to KC, and now back or over to Charlotte. So, and look, Chuba Hubbard's having a good year, 818 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns, 5.1 yards per carry average. Bryce Young's been a little better in these 3 starts since getting back in the lineup. and I like Carolina plus 11.
He's Brian Edwards, VegasInsider.com. Enjoy the weekend that is in ball, and I'll get with you after off there to figure out moving things around next week with the holiday.
Thanks, fellas. Y'all have a great weekend.
That's Brian Edwards. Check him out, VegasInsider.com, and that's all the time we have because we're done here. What an interesting day that was, John.
Yeah,
You sure
how about
picked
it?
the right. Yeah, top that, Jimmy, when you come tomorrow. We had a little bit of everything, and that is, you got to meet Neil
Love it.
Smith, got
Oh,
a
man.
picture, got
So
all that
cool.
stuff. And we got a little bit of Gary. So Gary came in and closed it. That's going to do it for the Gary Sharp Show for this Thursday, the 21st day of November. Nebraska and Wisconsin. Somebody in red's going to win their 6th game, and we know it's going to happen because they did away with ties in 1996. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. Gary's back via the stream. Jimmy Allen's going to sit in, and I think I'll be here as well. We'll see. Game time to say. We'll let you know. I don't even know from day to day. John Schreiner, thank you. I appreciate it, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean that. The Peterman, thank you for coming in. I'm
Anytime.
Jimmy Chavez. Have a great day. The Pulitzer Prize winning Connor Happer Show is next on The Zone.